Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Top of the top. Grand Rising. It's your boy Dabrand knows, and we are live. And you already know today is not Monday.
Monday is the worst, first day of the week. Always seem to feel I never get enough sleep. Tuesday's the one day, feels like a Sunday, and if it wasn't for Monday, I wouldn't even notice. Wednesday's the hump day, get you out the slump day. Thursday's the day before that bread, so you pump day. Friday's the next, direct deposit. Now it's the weekend, and you didn't realize it.
My 2 days off, my 2 days off. I get my two, I get my two, I get my 2 days off, my 2 days off. I get my two, I get my two. I get my 2 days off.
First day of the week.
My
Always seem to
2
feel
days
I
off.
never get
I
enough
get
sleep.
my
Tuesday's the one day that feels like a
I get
Sunday,
my
but if it wasn't for Monday, I wouldn't even
I get
notice.
my
Wednesday's the
days
hump
off.
day, get you out the slump day.
My
Thursday's the day
days
before
off.
that bread, so you
I
pump
get
day.
my
Friday's the next, direct deposit. It's the weekend, baby, didn't realize it. It's your boy Dabrand knows, and we on it. Full blast. All right, we're gonna give props to props is due. We got Tisha Taz coming up with her commentary. It's gonna be butter, y'all. It's butter. You gotta listen to everything she's saying, though. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Because Tisha be doing her thing. You feel me? 40 wolves. 40 wolves. But anyway, y'all, Facebook acting up again. You know what I mean? They banned my page this morning. I woke up, my page is banned for 30 days. For what? I have no. They act like they want to show you the reason why, but they don't. For some reason, I'm going to get to them showing you the reason why they ban your page. It won't go no further. I feel like my rights are being, my rights to freedom of speech are being violated at this particular point in time by Facebook, man. Mark Zuckerberg, man. What's up, B? Show me what I did to cause you to ban my page for 30 days. Just the other day, you banned my page for 3 days. For what? I still have no clear reason why you did that. Can you please tell me why y'all banning me on Facebook? Huh? They wait till you get a little bit of momentum, y'all, and then they want to throw a monkey wrench in your program. You feel me? But ain't no stopping the flow. It's your boy Dabrand knows and those 40 wolves. And y'all already know it's time to go!
Hey, what's up, you guys? Listen, a breaking update in the Nolan Wells case, and I think this actually does change everything. You guys, we need to forget everything we know. I know what you're saying. Tisa, again, yes, again. Because we looked through the reports, we found evidence, we reviewed the C2 call, and we actually think we know who might have been on boat 4. And guess what? It wasn't a teenager. It wasn't even someone over 21, but it might have been somebody over 60. What am I talking about? You guys, a new theory has emerged in what happened to Nolan in his final moments. Who actually saw him and who everybody is avoiding and what this hoopla might be about. You guys, remember the name Jerry? Well, we actually reassembled the evidence because we looked over the MDR report and Jerry was on the scene. You guys, let's get into this, all right? Who is Jerry? Jerry is Wyatt's grandfather, okay? Now, let me walk you through this little by little. Again, we're not accusing anyone. We don't know what happened to Wyatt, but I do think that Jerry might have been one of the last people to see Wyatt or been more on the scene than what we were led to believe. All right, let's get into this, right? Remember how this is a screenshot from the Cajun Navy report. Boat 1, Boat X, Boat 2, and Boat 3, okay? As you see, they're focusing on Boat 1, Boat X, and Boat 2. We know that Wyatt took 2 boats out. Both boats were in his grandfather's name. We know Bart also had a boat. I will say Bart is 21, but I do not think he owns the boat. I think that might be his father's boat. Keep that in mind because we'll come back, all right? Now, you notice in the water right there, this is where the two boys, one has darker skin, one has lighter skin, had some type of confrontation, okay? This was confirmed by Warren. This was confirmed also by Tristan that there was some type of altercation. On top of that, someone named Matthew posted on Instagram, on Facebook, in the Cajun Navy report that there was something like an almost fight. Again, these two boys, are they about to kiss? They're in each other's faces. But maybe that's just how they do things in Mississippi. But let me get back to my point because I need to take you to the CETO call because there's important information that when you see my next evidence, I think it's going to change everything. And we're going to go back to square one about what actually happened on Horton Island and who were the last people to truly see Nolan. Okay, let's get into this. So let me play this for you really quick, all right?
Okay. 17 foot of water. We're in 31 foot of water.
It's coming. Hold on.
All right, have to ask, what do you want to do? Do you want to be towed back?
I want to get this boat unsank and towed back, yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where would you like it towed to, sir?
You can tow it to Ocean Springs or Fort Bayou Launch.
Just pay attention. It's coming.
All right, how many adults and children on board?
No, there's no children.
Stop right there. Okay, seems simple enough, right? How many adults and children are on board? It is a simple, straightforward question, okay? This is Wyatt talking, we believe. Why? Because we hear people say Will, Warren, and Bart in the background. This is Wyatt. I believe that Warren said this was Wyatt. How many children on board? No, how many adults and children on board? Simple question. No, there's no children on board. Already that's odd, but listen to this.
So, is there anybody on board? How many adults, sir? That was the question.
Did you hear that? Mumbling as if people were feeding him information, right? It is a simple, straightforward question. This is like AAA asking, where are you? What type of car do you have? Okay, until he answered these questions, he will not be able to get assistance. He claims he is actually sinking, all right? We have to go over this because it's so important in the evidence.
Hello, can you hear me?
Are you going to answer?
Jump in and pull the plug, Bart, while you're doing.
Jump in and pull the plug, Bart, while you're doing. Again, he says Bart's name. Keep in mind that he says Bart's name. But Bart released a video where he's actually assisting towing. So Wyatt is on the phone making a call for towing. All right? That making a call for towing, that he does not need because he is getting assistance right then and there. All right? Now, at the same time, do you know who is on the phone? Wyatt, who is called the CETO captain at the same time that just got off the phone? Wyatt's grandfather, Jerry. Again, how many adults are on board? There's mumbling as if somebody's telling him what to say or they're discussing it, and then it's muted. Complete silence. And then instead of answering her when she's like, hey, what's going on? Hey, Bart, do that, but, blah, 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 blah. Almost as if you wanted to get that on. Again, seems very odd. You can't answer how many adults are on the boat, but it keeps going.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay,
how many adults on board?
There's 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody here is over the age of 21.
Do you see how long it took him to answer after lots of mumbling? Nobody on here is over the age of 21. Okay, fine. It's very odd. What's even more odd is your grandfather's on the phone with the captain saying, don't come. You're on CETO being like, hello, we need to get unsunk. But yet you can't even answer the most basic questions for them to render assistance. Okay. At the same time, your own thing of saying, Bart, according to the pictures, proves that you're actually getting assistance right then and there. So why are you even calling Cito? All right. So a lot of people are asking, how would his grandfather know that he didn't need assistance? Was he on the phone with his grandfather, or was his grandfather actually there and around? Listen to this. Now you see there's boat 1, boat X, boat 2, boat 3, and Warren is on Palm Beach. Palm Beach is one of the boats that Wyatt, I believe, is owned by Wyatt's grandfather. There's more. Hold on, y'all.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, an individual on the boat?
More silence. Muted.
Hello?
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, and that's when he goes to tell us more. But let me get into my PowerPoint presentation, and then you guys let me know what you think, all right? So listen, Warren was on Palm Beach. All right, good and ready. But look at this, y'all. Let's zoom in, right? Wait, what is going on? Hold on 1 second. Okay, we're back. So here's the thing. Queen brings up a great point. So is that Grandpa Jerry on the boat with Nolan? If you notice, Warren was on Palm Beach. There was boat 1, boat X, boat 2, boat 3. Boat 3, you can only see the corner of that right there. Okay? However, there were lots of other boats parked. Let's get into this. All right? We see the man that we assume is Nolan wearing the swim trunks, built like him, has the same skin complexion. As far as we know, there were only 2 black males on that island. One was Tristan, one was Warren, okay? But what do we spy with our little eye? And this looks like it is the actual boat that was in the corner, boat 3. Hold on. Let's not forget that Wyatt had 2 boats owned by his grandfather. Now, this is a gentleman sitting here. We don't know if this is Wyatt's grandfather, Jerry. We don't know what's going on. We do know that Wyatt feels comfortable. Nolan feels comfortable enough to get on that boat. I don't know if he's getting a drink. I zoomed in. I can't tell if he's going into a cooler, if he's picking up stuff, but he is definitely chilling on that boat. All right? Is this a boat that Nolan actually rode in on? See, here's the thing. They keep telling us that Nolan rode in on one of those boats, but the person we have telling us is Warren. Warren has not been quite, I don't know what the police asked him, but
Ooh, that definitely looks like a OT right there. I ain't no young dude sitting there with that big head right there. That look like Grandpa right there. Yeah, we on him, Tisha. That's why they sent that, because they seen Nolan on the boat with Grandpa, and Grandpa wasn't even supposed to be there, you heard?
Warren has not shown us any proof, not a picture, not camera footage, not anything, that Nolan was actually on the boat he said he was and what boat he actually came in on. On top of that, Warren has not actually said who Nolan said he was going to come back with. Why would he know that information? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not something he normally asks, but Warren kept saying it's a small community of boaters. Everybody knows it's a very exclusive crowd.
Bluetooth connected.
You would think that they would know, one, who Nolan was going on a boat with, especially if, according to them, Nolan was heavily drinking.
That's that new music y'all about to hear from Millie
Stacks. If you're out with somebody and they are wasted and they're like, no, I'm going with other people.
We got those exclusive, you understand me?
But let's get back into the grandfather, because I think, just hear me out, all right? Now,
there you go.
Knows if this gentleman actually is Jerry, okay? But why
look
do
just
you think
like an
I
old
think that
dirty old
Jerry
man out
was
there with all them
actually
young
on the
girls?
scene? Because when Nolan was reported as missing, and when the MDMR opened a search or opened a case into this, right? They had to make a report. Now, we know that Bart Joseph Edmondson Jr., was one of the involved entities, okay? He was an involved entity. Bart's lawyer came out and said, listen, we talked to the police. We didn't care. We talked to the police. We didn't have any lawyers. We weren't scared. So I don't know what this has to do with us. Bart also said that he unplugged the tram or whatever it was, and then plugged it up. And he was the one that provided the tow. And he gave all this information, gave access to his phones. He was like, all right. Now, honestly, when Bart said that, nobody has come forth and called Bart a liar. Nobody has said that Bart's recollection is wrong. Why is that important? Because Warren literally said on the interview that he did with Officer Django that Wyatt was the one that did this. But here's the thing. Wyatt was on the boat with Warren, okay? And Wyatt was on the boat. I'm sorry, Warren was on Wyatt's boat, okay? Wyatt had two boats, both in his grandfather's name, I'm assuming, out on the water. Who drove the other
But
boat
Tisha,
home?
Tisha,
We see.
remember Warren said he was on Bart's boat. Warren said he was on Bart's boat. Remember, I called my buddy Bart to come see if he could go. He said his pops wasn't going. So he said, yeah, he could take me and my friends. He pulled up. Those are the three boats, Bart. The 22 Ceto. No, not the 22-foot Triton. And the 18-foot with the shit on the side. The white boat, the little boat. It got the Panama, some shit on the side, a plan or something on the side of the boat. You know what I'm talking about. So Warren actually was on Bart's boat going out. He said that. All right?
One involved party, Bart Joseph Edmondson Jr. Now, first I thought, oh, well, it's probably because the boats are registered to him. But that doesn't make sense because I do not believe that boat that Bart was on was actually registered to him. I think that's Bart's parents' boat. I mean, maybe he is 21 and owns a $300,000 boat. I don't know. But it seems to me that boat would have been in his parents' name. So why would, and also they put Bart was an involved entity. Do you know who else was listed as an involved entity? This is what I think everybody is looking over. Jerry Ralph Atkerson. Jerry Ralph Atkerson
That's the grandfather.
is listed in the official investigation point as an involved entity. He's listed as an involved entity. They even took down his driver's license number. Why would they do that? If he did not have a recollection of seeing Nolan, if he was not around Nolan, and if he was not on Horn Island that day, and also if he was not directly involved in some way to Nolan's disappearance. Why would they put him as an involved entity? Why wouldn't they put Wyatt, who was driving? Why wouldn't they put Warren, who was there? Why wouldn't they put anything? On top of that, think about it.
Because obviously them boys, the police get involved. They don't want the police to know these young boys was driving the boat. And we feel like Bart was involved with it, so they try to eliminate him. So they put the grown man in there to take the rap, right? Jerry Ralph Atkinson. Race, white, Caucasian, right? It don't say none of that. It don't say his eye color. It says sex, male, height, it's blank. Is SDI blank, DL blank, clothing blank, everything blank. Everything except for his name. It's blank. So is that the grandfather? That's what we need to know.
Actually talked to the police. They said they talked to witnesses, and friends. Those are not the same thing. They could be, but they're not the same thing. Someone talked to the police and made the police believe that Nolan was drunk, hanging out on somebody's couch sleep. And it was enough that the police were like, you know what? He probably is. Never mind. And they called off the search. A search that could have actually gotten to him in vital time. Now, we're not blaming anyone.
Nah, that was them little knuckleheads trying to save face, man. Keep some time between them and what happened. Put some distance, you understand? They don't know.
They ain't know who the girl was, but they get on the bootlicker show and they know who it is. You know Katie. Katie, you know Katie. You know Katie very well when you on the bootlicker show. But when the police asked you the day of the incident, who was you? Yo, she walked off with a girl. We don't know her. Yo, them boys need to be brought in and questioned vigorously, if you get my point.
We are pointing out the obvious, but let me get back to the point. Jerry Ralph Ackerson. Why is he listed as an involved party? Why is
Because he
nobody
was
noticed
there.
this? And what does he know about what happened to Nolan? What did he see? What's his time frame? And more importantly, what did he tell police? Because when you look at the police's reaction after they talked to people and the way it took the urgency out, I don't know. Again, let's think about it. Jerry Ralph Ackerson is listed as an involved person. Wyatt, his grandson, is on the phone while Bart is administering tow help, saying that he needs Sato. When they ask him, are there any adults? It goes muted. He acts like he doesn't hear. It's very weird. It seems like to me he's being very, very cagey.
Yeah,
you hear
deceptive.
mumbling, you hear muting, you hear whatever. Let's also not forget that when they asked for the GPS coordinates were not exactly where they actually were, which is weird because the boat has GPS.
Now, with all these discrepancies, but everything we just heard, should not these boys be brought in and questioned by now, man? They all lawyered up. Maybe the lawyer tell them, "Man, we ain't gonna say nothing."
GPS, your phone has GPS, and they could have actually sent a text that you just click on. But Wyatt would know that because Wyatt is a boater. Wyatt went out there with 2 boats. Warren, I believe, said he drove one of the boats out there too. But if Warren was on Wyatt's boat coming back, who drove the second boat back? Let's also not forget that it looks like both boats were in Jerry Ralph Ackerson's name. Again, why is he an involved person? Just like why is Bart? Well, we know why Bart's an involved person, but why is Jerry Ralph Ackerson? Now, if you say, well, Bart's there because he was driving one of the boats, that's great. But Bart's not the owner of the boat, but they put him down maybe as a driver. So then again, I say, why is Jerry's name as an involved person? Was he the driver of one of the boats? Did he see Nolan? Why was he involved? Did the police talk to him? Do you see what I'm saying with this, you guys? I think this is ground.
Yeah, but they ain't letting us know nothing, Tisha. They keeping everything under wraps, even the autopsy, until the grand jury, which to me just proves a cover-up of some sort. Allegedly. Because why would you wait? I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, they haven't even gave the parents the results. Now imagine your kid, something happened to your kid out there. They was quick to say it was a drowning without any investigation. It was accidental drowning, nothing to see here. Move along, right? And them boys that did this thing would have been over there like nothing ever happened. Going on with their lives like regular. Knowing what they did to Nolan. Understand? Shit is crazy, man. It's almost like plain as day what happened here, but people scared to say. Like, what? Like, where is this America? Are we in the United States, man? Land of the home of the brave and the free? Like, what's really good with all that? What's really good? What? Ain't this the home of the brave and the land of the free? Don't we supposed to put our foot down and our foot up and somebody crack when they play with us like this? We know it's Mississippi. And we know how y'all get down there. You understand? Trust me, we coming deep. Because we know what y'all do, man. Y'all wait for the sun to go down. Sundown town. They wait till the sun to go down, y'all. Ever been in a sundown town? Huh? Now picture you moving to a sundown town. When that sun go down, it's dark, man. You can't see 2 feet in front of your face, man, without lights, man. And it be dark 'cause those be the woods out there. Now Mississippi is a sundown town. Where they say if your black ass ain't in the crib before the sun go down, something might happen to you, boy. Huh, boy? Let's get into this.
Breaking information. And I think this is a line that I hope the police, I hope Ben Crump, and I hope those boys that are searching with justice actually pull through. Why don't they start by investigating what's going on with the MDMR report? Again, a lot of stuff happened. Again, here we go. TMZ reported
See,
that
sir,
some
the same
witnesses
reason why they did a whole autopsy right before they knew that they wanted a second autopsy, and they took out all the incriminating evidence. You understand? And they took out the incriminating evidence, shit that would prove that what we saying is what happened. They removed all of that. Because if they'd have left the lungs and the throat, we could have been squashed this last week after the autopsy was done. Because we'd have seen that there was water in the lungs. His neck was not broken or whatever. We'd have found out that the tree we barking up ain't the right tree to be barking up, and we probably would have left that alone by now. But they kept the lungs, the throat, there's marks on the back of the neck they can't explain. They brought him in face down, but shit pulled to the back. Yo, my man, we ain't not retarded those, man. I know as much as y'all want us to believe that time has not passed, people hasn't learned how to read and write and sense of direction and all. We got all that now, bruh. Technically, we better than it at y'all at this point. Y'all see how we solved this situation? Allegedly. Huh? But you think they'll give you credit? Nah, they discredit you because you ain't got this fake paperwork shit that goes along with the accolades of being what'd you say, a doctor, right? Would you take my advice if I were to say, yo, you don't need to see no doctor for that, man. I believe you could take care of that on your own. Huh? You wouldn't listen to me. No, fuck that, I'm going to see a doctor. Well, go see that cocksucker. Because all you're going to do is charge you for some shit that you could have did for free. You know what a doctor's job is? A doctor's job is to sell drugs, man. And when you finally realize a doctor's job is to sell you drugs, man. Now, I realized this when I was a drug dealer. And I've done my time for that. Understand me? I've done my time for being that drug dealer. Even though the state that I was born and raised in put me in a position where I had to do what I had to do to eat. Because they wasn't trying to feed you. You know what I mean? So they set up, it's the same thing. They do the same thing all the time, man. They set up the situation and then come and try to be the superhero. We figured that out, Bubba. So it ain't working no more. You understand? So these boys rushed to Officer Bootlicker to make it seem like they was doing something good. We tried to tell him to calm it. No, he didn't want. But your boy is dead and gone. And that's your response? Well, we told him. And he's supposed to be your best friend. Like I'm telling you, man, we're best friends like y'all cats, man, who need enemies, bruh.
law enforcement that Nolan was heavily drinking when they saw him that fateful weekend. Witnesses, not friends, but witnesses. Could this be Jerry? He's an involved person. He talked to the police. He had to, because how did they get his driver's license and his name? But Nolan's mom, as you know, says his narrative is BS and doesn't hold up. She said, if you were in our situation, how would you feel if there were millions of people who were saying, oh, hey, well, he was at an island. He was heavily drunk. Again, the mom didn't buy it. but I'm interested to know what the grandfather had to say. Let's also not forget, well, I'll get into that in another video. I think I've given you guys enough to actually think about. You guys, again, why is Jerry listed as an involved entity? I think it goes beyond him owning the boats. And even if it was owning the boats, why didn't you list any of the friends as involved entities? Do you see what I'm saying? Again, if you're listing Bart, because Bart was driving one of the boats, then why wouldn't you put Wyatt, unless Jerry might have also been there? Again, just food for thought. I would be interested to hear what he said to the police. And, maybe the information could be helpful in finding out what actually happened to Nolan. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. But Think P Smart said it best, where she said, finally, oceanic engineering expert has been called in to say what a lot of us said, that the body was placed there. This being national news means smart people are asking questions they didn't want to be asked. Or they must.
Facts, because they thought we were stupid. Like, how do you... listen, take the analogy of this. Remember back in the days, man, when we used to race tops in the curve, man, the pump's on, the water running down, and we used to drop a top, and we race down to the corner, see who should get there first. The same shit applies in the ocean, man. You drop some shit in there, it's gonna float that way, man. It ain't gonna come to the shore, man. So that right there is the first mistake, I believe. When they put the body back where it was last seen. My man, that does not happen. It doesn't happen, man. It doesn't happen. It don't happen. It don't happen. And I ain't saying allegedly. It don't happen, man. There's a current, man. They said it's like a swimming pool out this bitch. And then they say that it's like a washing machine out this bitch. So a washing machine throws shit up on the shore. Where's the rest of the shit that was out there in that water that's up on the shore? Huh? No one was the only thing to get tossed up there? That story's felonious, don't make no sense. And allegedly, them boys is a bunch of liars, man.
Was unaliving him, keeping his phone, and worrying having that red necklace on, not erasing the call, and underestimating how hard it is to lie to smart people. Now, again...
With all that evidence, these boys ain't been hauled in yet, man. It's Mississippi, I'm telling you right now, it's becoming a slap in your face, man. And it's going to blow up in your face, man. Do the right thing, Mississippi. Because the world is watching, baby. The world is watching, baby. And we're going to see how you going to handle this, man. Because if you think that you're going to get away with this, man, you out of your mind. You're crazy. You can send all the cotton-picking little hairy-faced niggas you want to talk all the dumbness. Come on, we having so many mulatto babies, it's crazy. Nigga, shut your black dumb ass up. All right? Why you having babies with white women when you got so many black women, you clown, you goofy, you race trader? You the one who did Nolan Wells' first haircut. Maybe that's why his fucking hairline look pushed back in all those pictures we've been seeing. Huh? That's why you a barber, but you ain't got no hair on your own goddamn head. How you gonna take care of somebody else's hair? You can't take care of your own. I would never sit in front of a motherfucker with a motherfucking caveman bed swinging, talking about cutting my grilly off. You crazy? Cut your shit off. And you sound like a coon. A coon. Huh? You sound like that, man. Seriously, man. You are compromised.
None of this has been verified. Please take it for the truth of the matter asserted. But what I do find interesting in her point is, let's bring the experts in. Let's find out why the body had washed up in a place that I don't think that it's normal to wash up when you look at oceanic time.
See what I'm saying? And nothing is normal about this situation. So just imagine it was reversed, man. It was a black and whites. It was these niggas would be in jail by now. These niggas would be behind the bars, man. You niggas wouldn't be walking around. Let's have that same energy, man. Let's have that same energy, man. We want to see some arrests, man. We want to see some arrests. Mr. Crump, Mr. Ben Crump, it's time to put your foot down, bruh. You're seeming a little timid around the situation, man. You're tiptoeing, man. You're a little political, man. It's like you're scared to say certain things that might, man, look bad, man. What looks bad, man, is it looks like you're not getting the job done. Right? It looked like they ain't even paying you no. They ain't paying you no mind, bro. They trying to muddy the waters with your name, huh? I mean, they can't make us see what's not there, but they trying, brother. They trying hard, real hard. Now, what is Al Sharpton's purpose there? I have no idea. I really don't have a clue as to know. You know, maybe if you came in like by yourself, they couldn't have, they probably wouldn't have had too much to say. Cause now they trying to make it look like y'all making this a racial thing when technically we all know it's not racial. It's not. It might be. But, like they said, man, these boys hung out all the time. They did trips like that all the time. That's why Nolan was there. He felt comfortable enough to be on the man's boat, digging in his cooler or whatever he was doing, right? We get that. But guess what else? Friends get into altercations, man. Friends fight. Sometimes friends kill friends, man. Might be by accident and sometimes it's on purpose. Brothers kill brothers, man. Sometimes on purpose and sometimes by accident. If it was an accident, man, what made it worse for y'all was the cover-up. You know what I mean? That shit just came clean from the door. Yo, look, this is what happened. You know what I mean? Woody woo. Now, not only are one of you going to go down, all of you going to go down because it's a conspiracy at this point. You all participated in the cover-up. You understand? I hope all of you kids understand what y'all getting yourselves into. You're either going to be a witness or suspect. So what we doing here, y'all? You're either a witness or suspect. What we doing? And those are your options.
But more importantly, I do think that it is important for us to actually look at, more importantly, I do think it is important for us to actually look at what's Jerry's name doing as an involved entity? That's my point. What is
Jerry is
what if I told you
Jerry is an involved entity because he was involved, plain and simple. And with that being said, thank you, Tisha Tells, for that very enlightening commentary. Millie Stacks, I'm on my way. Let's go. Yes, sir. I'm on my way, baby. I'll be there shortly. Just fall back. Bend you over, baby, let me get a little taste. You a little freedom when I put you in your place. I knew in your heart you hate to see a nigga go. Catch you later, baby, I've been running to the door. Body on you perfect, baby, you deserve it. Take you to my love, anything you want, girl, I'm gon' purchase. She could be the baddest in the room, I'm still gon' curve it for you. She could be the baddest in the room, and I'm still gon' curve it for you. Yeah, you girl. Curve all these bitches just for you. Fuck these hoes. I just wanna play and they getting all day. Two bad bitches and they go both ways. I don't give a fuck, cause a young nigga made. Hurry, call my phone and I'll be there on the way. Millie Stacks. Hurry, call my phone, I'll be there. I'm on the way. Millie Stacks. Give it up for my nephew. Cause y'all already know Brando Knows comes through with that exclusive. Percolate, baby. It's water under the bridge, y'all. But check it out. As y'all see, I got my boy Umar Showman on the screen next to me doing his thing. Now, the art of the dialogue. The art of the dialogue. Hold on. Let's see. Let's pull this shit up. We on the Nolan Wells case. I think we the first ones to solve it, y'all. I think we have solved the case, y'all. I can't wait, man. I can't wait until they figure out what really happened here, man. You know what I mean? I can't wait. I just love being vindicated, man. You know? I like when they say everything we say is a bunch of crap, and then we prove it right, and then we can spit in their faces. Right. Okay, so with no further delay, let's hear what Mr. Umar Sharma has to say on the Out of the Dialogue. You hear me? Right, where we at? See, we played tug of war with our equipment, if you know what I mean. But right now I feel like I'm fighting to get this thing to work, right? And I would believe it's because these dudes is sabotaging, you feel me? Sabotage Nation is crazy. Huh? Alright, so let's go. Let's go here, hold on. Let's see. Chill out, y'all. I got you. Got y'all. Hold on. As y'all see on the screen, Facebook has banned me from live feeding. Don't ask me why. But Facebook has banned me from live feeding, y'all. So, with that being said, now that you know that your boy Dabrand knows, let's go and get into this.
Dr. Umar, happy to have you back, man. What you been up to, yo? It's been a while, yo, since I had you on the platform.
Yes, just taking care of business, fighting for the school, doing what I do, helping the parents with their children, raising the consciousness. The work never stops. The work never stops.
Yes, indeed, man. Had to bring you back on. The people, they've been asking me to bring you back on for the longest, man. So it was only right to bring you back on. It's so much I want to talk to you about, though, man. It's so much to get into that I want to get your take on. Nolan Wells, how you feel about that situation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nolan Wells. You know, when the case first broke, Art, I just kind of sat back because I knew the YouTubian struggle streamers were going to run with it. I knew the white liberals on YouTube were going to run with it. I knew the white racists on YouTube were going to run with it, and everybody in between. It hurts my heart for Sister Christine, Nolan's mother, to have to see so many people using her son's name and crisis and tragedy for clickbait. And that's one of the biggest reasons, Art, I kind of stood back. It almost reminded me of the Freddie Gray police unaliving in Baltimore back during the Barack Obama era. When Freddie Gray lost his life to those police in Baltimore, everybody rushed to Baltimore. They did the same thing with Michael Brown in Ferguson, not because they necessarily cared about the tragedy, but because they wanted to benefit personally from it. And so I stayed away from Ferguson. I stayed away from Baltimore, and I stayed away from the Nolan Wells situation for a while because I didn't want to look like so many other people who just jumped in to have something to say, to use that young man's loss of life for clickbait and views. Now that it's been over a month since he lost his life, I think it's okay for me to speak now because everyone else has kind of given their opinion, their analysis, their synopsis, and their feeling on the situation. So I'm going to give mine. First of all, Nolan Wells, Javon, and I want Javon to hear this, and I want any other black person who was on Devil Horns Island that day to hear this. And I want any black person who was celebrating the 4th of July to hear this. No black person, no black freedman, no black immigrant, no member of the black race at all should have been celebrating July 4th, 2026. No one should have been celebrating America's 250th solar return. And why? Because our ancestors were still enslaved on July 4th, 1776. So why are we on White Devil Horns Island anyway, celebrating George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton and all these other white supremacists and slave masters? Why are we even celebrating them anyway? Nolan shouldn't have been out there. Javon shouldn't have been out there. No black person should have been.
I'll tell you, Umar, it's because our people were misinformed. You understand? They were told these were good people. They did good things for us, you know? But history would say different. People don't care about history. They care about what's going on today. And what you say today is what it is from yesterday. You understand? You know, they browbeating you, man. They beating us down in the mind, man. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. The information, they got it on lock. They tell us what they want us to believe, and we believe it and run with it. That's why they
Celebrating the 4th of July, period. We would be enslaved for almost another century after America got her independence. So what are we celebrating for? To celebrate the 4th of July as an African is to celebrate the enslavement of your ancestors and the freedom of your slave masters. It makes no sense. Now, with that being said, I'm not blaming Nolan in any way, shape, form, or fashion for his loss of life. I'm just simply saying he shouldn't have been out there. Now let's take a closer look at this, Art. According to what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, and what I've read, Nolan, Warren, Wyatt, and Trayston left for Horn Island the morning of July 4th. According to Warren's own words that he offered during an interview with Officer B.T. Coon, that's Coon as in C-U-N-E, Coon as in K-H-E-W-N, Coon as in K-U-H-N, Coon as in C-O-N-N. So Warren did a sit down with Officer B.T. And as we all know, B.T. is White YouTube's pet monkey. He's White YouTube's pet monkey. So Warren sat down for an interview with White YouTube's pet monkey. And he said that they left for Horns Island the morning of July the 4th, and that it was approximately 30 of them spread across 3 boats. Approximately 30 youth spread across 3 boats. They all went to Horn Island together. They arrived at approximately 11:30. So they left around 9-ish, 8, 9-ish, whatever the case may be. They left the morning of July 4th. They arrived on White Devil's Horn Island at about 11:30. So 3 boats, 30 youth, they went together. I'm not clear on whether the 3 boats came back together or not. That's another question that I have, Art. Did they come back together the same way they left together? Because I'm treating all 30 of those white youth and all 3 of those ships as crime scenes and as suspects. suspects. All 3 ships are potential crime scenes. All 3 boats are potential crime scenes, and all 30 youth are potential suspects. I don't know why Jackson County Sheriff Ledbetter or Jackson County District Attorney Mulrath, I don't know why they decided to separate the boat that Nolan was on. Warren's boat, I don't know why they separated that boat from the other 2 for purposes of investigation and analysis. Because those 3 boats operated as a team.
Yeah.
And since they went out there as a team, and it hasn't been...
It should have been investigated as a team, don't you think? Oh, let's get this right, man, because we having some static situations going on. Hold on, Omar. Let you finish speaking. Let's just get through this. There you go. Okay, we back. All right, Omar. All right, continue.
Made clear to me whether or not they came back together as a team. All 30 white youth and all 3 boats should have been part of this investigation, not just the 1 boat. That is my first big issue with this case. Who decided to separate the other 2 boats in the other 20 or so youth? I got a problem with that, Art, because according to the Cajun Navy, they have no GPS information on the other 2 boats, Art. They have no GPS information on the other 2 boats. Now let's get into this. According to Warren and Nolan's other so-called white friends, they decided to leave the island around 4:30. So they were roughly on White Devil's Horn Island from 11:30 to 4:30. That is about 5 hours. Now, one question that has to be asked, Art, why did y'all leave so soon? Because they party on Horn Island all day long. Y'all didn't leave at sunset. Y'all didn't leave at sundown. Y'all left after only being there 5 hours. That's a little suspicious, Art. And I haven't heard anybody ask any of them, why did y'all decide to leave after only being there for 5 hours? Did y'all plan to only be on White Devil's Horn Island for 5 hours? Why did y'all leave at that time? But we'll deal with that later. So then, let's listen to Javon, Nolan's other best friend. Now, another problem I got with this whole story, Art, is Nolan allegedly had too many best friends. I'm trying to find out, how does Nolan have so many best friends, and why did all of these so-called best friends leave their best friend on White Devil's Horn Island without his cell phone and keys? I'm trying to figure this out. So Javon claims he's Nolan's best friend. Warren claims he's Nolan's best friend. And Trayston allegedly claims that he's Warren's best friend. So did Warren have 3 best friends? Excuse me. Did Nolan have 3 best friends? Did Nolan have 13 best friends? Did Nolan have 30 best friends? Because if Javon is the best friend of Nolan, and if Warren is the best friend of Nolan, and if Trayston is the best friend of Nolan, exactly how many best friends did Nolan have? Are y'all making this up? Who did Nolan tell Warren was his best friend? Who did Nolan ever tell Trayston was his best friend? I'm not going to question Javon, because he's a brother. And I do believe that there's a strong chance that they may have been best friends. And I say that not only because Javon is a brother, Art, but I also felt that Javon, through the investigation team and alley-oop, with some of the answers that he gave on TMZ. Some of Javon's answers, in my opinion, kind of made it clear to me he actually cared about Nolan. I believe Javon actually cared about Nolan, and because of that, I'm willing to say that Javon may have actually been Nolan's best friend. I wish somebody would have asked Javon, Art, to your knowledge, has Nolan ever called Warren his best friend? Has Nolan ever called Tristan his best friend? To your knowledge, Javon, has Nolan ever told you that Warren and Tristan were best friends of his? Because Art, I'm having a problem with this three best friend narrative. Okay? I used to be 18 years old. You might have one best friend. You may have two. Don't get me wrong. If you all hang in a pack, you could have three best friends. But according to Javon's own words, Art, he didn't really hang around with them other guys too much. That's what I allegedly thought I heard him say. He didn't hang around with them guys too much. So if you got 2 or 3 or 4 best friends, you guys normally travel as a group. Javon seemed like he kind of spent most of his time with Nolan alone, just the two of them, not with Tristan and Warren. Although he knew them, it didn't appear that he hung out with them on the regular. So how could they all then be best friends? It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it's unlikely. So, according to Javon, Art, he saw Nolan at 3.
Technically, growing up, I could say I had 4 best friends, man. 4 of them. We did everything together. You know what I mean? When I was going somewhere, I called the same 4 people all the time. Because I considered those 4 people my best friends. Like, in which order the best friends came in, it would have to go by according to when I met them. Right? Understand? Which means Kappa probably would have been first. Then Soup would have slid in the door. Huh? And Loverboy the D.O.N. with the pad and the pen. We slid in there at 4th. Because we did everything together. All of us. Parties, trips. We did it all together. So I had 4 best friends. But we all hung together. It wasn't like, this was my best friend this day. And then these 2 was my friends, best friend this day. And then this dude was my best friend. Nah. That'd be like a cheating little whore.
40 on the island. According to Javon, what I heard him say to TMZ allegedly was that he had another friend who was involved in an altercation and that he left Nolan at about 3:40 to go check on.
Yeah, Warren had a bad day that day, right? His brother got into a fight. His best friend Tristan got in a fight. And his best friend Nolan got unalived.
His buddy, because according to Javon, his buddy was on another ship. And the parents of whomever on this other ship were trying to get him off the island because he was crashing out. He never said who this friend was. He never exactly told us what happened. But he said, I left at 3:40 to go check on my friend on another boat because, quote unquote, well, these are not his words, I'm paraphrasing. He was kind of wilding out, crashing out, and he needed to help calm him down. I'm paraphrasing. He said when he got back, Nolan was nowhere to be found, and I'm paraphrasing. And Nolan's boat that he came on, Warren's boat, the so-called Big Daddy, the 22-foot Triton, had already left the scene. So according to Javon, I left Nolan at 3:40 to go deal with another situation. I came back, he was gone. According to Katie, the white girl who Nolan's white best friends are trying to use as an alibi in this situation. Okay, because they claim.
And that alibi blew up in their face when she didn't go along with the plan. You understand? She's like, man, last time I saw him, y'all was calling him to get on the boat, man. I don't know what y'all talking about. He was with me. Huh? Her sister said, my sister said she only spoke to Nolan in passing. Who telling the truth here?
And Warren said the same thing to Officer B.T. Coon when he spoke with him. They claim that Nolan told them, I'm going to hang back on this island and talk to Katie. You guys go ahead and I'll get back however I get back. Again, I'm paraphrasing. But guess what? We learned through Katie's sister that Katie said she has no knowledge of Nolan ever saying that. In fact, Katie said, Art, that Nolan told her, I got to get ready to head back to the boat because my friends are leaving soon. That don't sound like somebody who plans on staying, Art. Okay? According to her sister.
And it also don't sound like somebody who's sloppery drunk. Just falling all over itself. Does it?
Katie said Nolan told Katie, it's time for me to head back to the boat because my friends are going to be leaving soon. As far as I'm concerned, Art, Javon and Katie both threw us an alley-oop. Javon and Katie are throwing Sheriff Ledbetter of Jackson County an alley-oop because neither one of them are corroborating the story of Nolan's white friends on that boat. In fact, Javon said, this ain't adding up. Javon said, it's not like Nolan to say, you guys go ahead and leave me on this island and I'm just going to stay back to talk to this girl who I barely know. According to Javon,
because that sounds like a thirsty dude to me. I'm on an island. I'm on Horns Island. I meet a broad. Say, what's up, ma? Yeah. Where you from? Yeah. Listen, when we get back, you know what I mean, we gonna holler, you heard? I see you on the mainland. That sounds more reasonable for a young 18-year-old boy who came out here with his buddies. Understand? It'd be different if he was 28, 29, grown-ass man. You can make any decisions you want. I might tell my boy, my niggas, I see y'all back at the lot. You heard? But we talking about 18-year-old teenager. 18 years old. I don't see him leaving his friends to stay with no girl he just met, man. I could go for him taking the number down and hollering at her later on. You feel me? That part.
It don't make no sense. Javon ain't stupid, Art. That's his friend. He know damn well Nolan didn't tell them that he was going to stay back on that ship. And then Katie, I'm going to give a little bit of respect to Katie on this situation. Because as a white girl, Art, for her to come out and say that is not what happened, for her to come out and say that Nolan told me I got to get back to the boat because my friends are leaving, for her to say that, Art, that took a little bit of courage and honesty. That took a little bit of integrity. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to give her too much credit because she is trying to clear her name. What Katie...
Facts. Don't give her too much credit because she right now should be plastered all over the place telling what happened. You know what I mean? And if not, she should be sitting in an interrogation room telling what happened. You know what I mean? Just get it.
He is basically doing, Art, is she's saying, listen, y'all did whatever y'all did to Nolan, but you're not going to add me to the narrative. I'm not serving as nobody's alibi. I'm not helping nobody get out of this situation. You're not going to use me as a decoy, but I still appreciate Katie speaking up for Nolan, Art, because she didn't have to do it. Although she's trying to protect herself.
But look, Omar, if she wouldn't have spoke up for Nolan, she be the one on the hook right now. She'll be the last one to see him, last one known to be with him. She would be on the hook. At first, they tried to throw an unknown person on the hook, somebody they couldn't track down.
But unfortunately, they tracked that girl down. She said she ain't seen Nolan in over a year. So why they let her? Why they led them to her? How her name even get brought up in this situation? Because they knew about her and they mentioned her, thinking that was gonna throw them off the trail. Nolan went off with a girl named and it was never to be seen again. The next thing I seen her, he's a little floating in the river. Look at them. Yo, my man. Yo, youngsters. Them old dudes that y'all allowed to set this situation up so that y'all could get away with the smurder. They lined y'all up real good.
Stay out of the investigation. Although she's trying to protect herself and stay out of the investigation, I appreciate Katie for letting the world know Nolan told me I got to head back to the boat because my friends are getting ready to leave. Now, according to Katie Art, she spoke to Nolan sometime between 3 and 4:30. Now, her window appears to be wider than everybody else's window. So Javon's window is much smaller. He said, I saw him at 3:40, went to deal with another situation. By the time I came back, they were gone. Katie said I spoke with him between 3 and 4:30. And I allege, Art, one of the reasons that Katie is making her window so wide is she trying to leave a little bit of wiggle room for Warren and them to get their story straight, allegedly. I think Katie trying to leave a little bit of wiggle room for Warren and them to get their story straight, Art. Now, according to our sister Christine, and my heart goes out to Sister Christine, Nolan's mother, my heart deeply, deeply goes out to you, Queen. According to Christine, Art, she heard from a coach who ran into Nolan on the island as well. And according to the coach, he spoke to Nolan between 2:30 and 3:30. So Javon didn't see him after 3:40. The coach spoke to him sometime between 2:30 and 3:30. And Katie said her conversation with Nolan.
First of all, they're all on the island. They're all docked around the same area. If you seen him on the island, you should have been continuing to see him. That's like, we on the beach. Let's just go to Coney Island. I see my man Rick Roos. Right? And I know you're here. And they gonna head out. And I'm supposed to be your best friend. You ain't gonna tell me you're leaving? You're just gonna break out? And we right here on the same island? Nah, man. If Tristan over there, yo, Tristan, listen, man. I'm about to get a body, man. These niggas breaking out. I see you I came with them. I gotta go back with them. So I see you on the shore. You heard? You're gonna tell people something. You're not gonna just get up and leave. Especially if, you know what I mean? Imagine me going to Horn Island. And I look at my man Soup standing right there. Before I leave, your Soup. Yo, I'm gonna see you when we get back, man. I'm not just gonna leave without saying nothing, man. So that's a little weird too.
Was between 3 and 4:30. So you know what that means, Art? We can pretty much digest, conclude that Nolan was likely to have been unalived, Art, sometime within the hour of 3:30 to 4:30. I'm going to insinuate that Nolan's life was taken because I do not believe he accidentally drowned. If he drowned, he was forcibly drowned, and we'll get to that in a minute. If Nolan drowned, he was forcibly drowned. He did not accidentally drown. He was a great swimmer. Miss me with the nonsense. That boy did not drown. If he drowned, it was by force. So again, Art, all three of these people, arguably the last three to see him alive, except for those who took his life, Katie, the coach, and Javon, are arguably the last three people to see Nolan alive, except for those who took his life on that boat, allegedly. That's my position. So they're all basically cutting off around 3:30 Art. Remember, they made the call for the emergency CTO at 4 o'clock. Javon said he cut out 3:40. The coach 3:30. They made the call at 4 o'clock. That conversation we heard, the CTO call, which we're going to talk about in a minute, that took place at 4. It sounded like there was some struggling going on in the background. Nolan could have been getting unalived while they were making the call, Art. Nolan could have been getting unalived while they were making the call. Nolan could have been getting choked out while they was on the phone with Cito. So again, Art, my position is Nolan lost his life somewhere within the hour of 3:30 to 4:30. Now, before we go any further, Art, I need Ben Crump, investigation team, and Sheriff Ledbetter's investigation team to have a conversation with Javon, because according to Javon's statements on TMZ, the police never spoke to him. And I have serious concerns with the manner in which this investigation has been carried out so far, Art. I have very serious concerns with the manner in which this investigation has been carried out so far. So anyway, Javon said police never spoke with him. Why? We need a conversation with Javon, not because I think he's a suspect. I believe Javon is innocent, but we need to find out what he knows. That's number one. We also need a conversation, Art, with the coach. Who is this coach that Sister Christine said contacted her and told her he had a conversation with Nolan on the island between 2:30 and 3:30? We need to find out what he knows. And according to Katie's sister, she is already cooperating with the authorities. But here's why those three got to be spoken to, Art. Not only so we find out what they know, Art, but did they see each other during their conversation with Nolan?
I just said that. We all on this tight ass island, right? Now picture the scene, man. Tristan, the guy who claims he was the one saying, "Give me my phone," when the tape dropped, he said that he was supposed to be on that caravan with the rest of them. But his uncle calls him at the last minute and says, "Look, man, I need you to come with me out on my boat." Right? So they went out. The timeline was, he said they got there around 10 o'clock. And then Warren, Bart, Nolan, and the rest of them pulled up to Horns Island around 10:30. I got these numbers out of their mouth. As they was talking, I was writing these things down. So Tristan said he held the parking spots for the boats. Like when they pulled in, he told them, "Yo, you park there, you park there, you park there," so they could tie all their boats together. So they was all right there. It was all right in the same area. So with the way they talking, like his boat was on one side, his boat was on, no, they was all right here in the same area. So how is it possible that all these people was in the same area and not see each other? It just seems impossible. And when it seems impossible, it's likely that it ain't true.
Because Javon, if you was talking to Nolan and left him at 3:40, and if Katie was talking to Nolan sometime between 3 and 4:30, and if the coach was talking to Nolan between 3:30 and 4:30, Art, at least two of you should have ran into each other. Did the coach see Javon? Did Javon see the coach? Did the coach see Katie? Did Katie see the coach? Did Katie see Javon? Did the coach see Katie? Art, if
And I guarantee you they all gonna say, "Nah, I ain't see them." But y'all on this motherfucking little ass island. It ain't even that big, y'all. You know what I mean? They trying to make it seem like it was thousands or millions of people out here. Okay, cool. But you niggas was in a group, parked in the same area. And normally when you go to a beach, right? Do you be way down the beach when your people's right here? Or do you all stay right in the same vicinity? I mean, think of your times you went to the beach. You pull up, you get on the sand, you lay down your towel, you put your umbrella, your sun visor, your umbrellas all in one area. Huh? And then you pause, man, you chill, you fall back, man, you watch everything going on around you. You ain't over there, man, especially if this beach is crowded. You're not all the way down there, you're not all the way over there. They're making it seem like this guy was just all over the place, man. Nah, man, it ain't adding up, bro.
If all three of them are saying they saw Nolan for the last time, roughly within the same hour, hour and a half, Art, did y'all run into each other? Let me tell you why I'm asking this question, Art. And I'm not throwing no shade at my brother Javon. I like Javon. I'm not throwing no shade at Miss Katie McCormick. I don't know her. I'm not throwing no shade at the coach, Art. But the reason I need to know why all y'all put y'all time within the same frame and you may have not possibly seen one another, Art, are you guys keeping yourself out of the window of witnessing this crime by saying you didn't see him after 3:30? I want you to follow what I'm saying here, Art. It's kind of interesting that they all saw him last at 3:30, not after 3:30. Javon 3:40, roughly 3:30. My point is, Art, for all three of them.
And Warren is 3 o'clock. The last time I saw Nolan, it was 3 o'clock. And he was hugged up with the girl, you know, Katie, the girl. Katie, yeah. That's his response. I'm like, what? What? But then he said you seen him at 4:30. The last time he said, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock and he was hugged up with, you know, the girl, Katie, the girl, you know, Katie. Hmm? And then in the next breath gonna say, and at 4:30, he said his friend, I mean, Bart or Wyatt, one of them was telling Nolan, get your ass on the bus. Get your ass on the boat, man. Get on the boat. But he didn't look. He just heard it. He ain't look. He just heard it. He ain't look. He heard somebody telling his best friend in the world, get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat, man. We gotta go. He heard this, but he didn't see it. He heard it, but he didn't see it. He in hearing range, which means you're in seeing range. You heard this, but you ain't turn around and look, see why this boy yelling at your friend like that. You just kept it moving. We supposed to believe this. If I'm on an island with a bunch of motherfuckers and I hear somebody, yo, Soup, get your ass on the boat, Soup, yo, Soup. I'm like, well, who talking to my man like that? Who talking to my boy like that? I want to see, because I might get involved. I'm not going to look and just keep eyes straight. What the fuck is you niggas? Robots? What the fuck is this? Y'all expect somebody to believe this shit? Y'all didn't have enough time to get your stories right, man, because this shit sounds crazy. You understand? Now, I'm going to say allegedly. Allegedly, man, y'all took that body somewhere, man. And y'all left it there overnight, man. Probably for 2 days. Because the next day when everybody was asking everybody, what time did you wake up in the morning? Well, I woke up, it was around 7. And if y'all notice, everybody left around the same time, 3 o'clock, 3:30. And everybody got up around the same time. It's funny how they all came from Horns Island and these young niggas need to go to sleep, right? His boy Tristan said he just got into a fight. Him and his girl was on the island. He got into an altercation with a guy to the point his uncle said, get your ass back on the boat. Man, we got to get out. He was so mad. His uncle said, man, fuck that. We leaving, man. We getting out of here, man. You done fuck my whole day up, man, with this bullshit. Huh? They get back to shore. He said the first thing he did was went to sleep till 11 o'clock. He said the first thing he did was went back to sleep until 11 o'clock, y'all. He said he went to sleep to 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock was supposed to be the time that the boy in the police station that to get on shift, they said they was waiting for him to get on so they could report the situation. You know what I mean? I mean, who believe what they saying right now, man? Who going for the okie doke, man, to put the wool over your eyes, man? Yeah, Umar, I think you on to something, man. I really
to have the same exact time. If they did not see each other at all during these conversations with Nolan, are they pushing up the window of time during which they saw Nolan so they cannot be included in this investigation as a witness to a crime? In other words, Art, I don't think Javon had nothing to do with it. I know he didn't. But is he saying he saw Nolan a little earlier than he saw him so he can't be pulled into the investigation? I don't think Katie had nothing to do with the crime. But is Katie putting her conversation with Nolan a little earlier than it actually took place to make sure she can't be dragged into the investigation as a witness to a crime? Is it possible that the coach is putting his conversation with Nolan earlier than what it was, Art, to make sure he cannot get dragged into the investigation? I don't think they had anything to do with it, but they could have been a witness to a homicide, Art. They could have been witness to a homicide. If they did not see each other, if none of those three people, the coach, Javon, and Katie, if they did not see each other at all talking to Nolan, if none of them saw each other talking to Nolan, at least two of them are lying about the time they last saw Nolan. Are you following me, Art? All I'm saying is I have my suspicions as to whether or not this convenient 3:30 cutoff window, I have my suspicions that this convenient 3:30 cutoff window may have not actually been the time they saw Nolan. They may have saw Nolan closer to the time he lost his life. Now stay with me, Art. I want to back up for a minute. And I want to say this to Brother Elmore, Nolan's stepfather. And I want to say this to Coach Tracy, who I believe was one of Nolan's coaches. Brother Elmore, the stepfather, and Coach Tracy, the coach, both said on national television, Art, that they don't think race played a role in this at all. Elmore, Tracy, two dark-skinned black men in Mississippi, and both of them said on national television, I don't think race had anything to do with this case. I am disappointed in Brother Elmore. I am disappointed in Coach Tracy. How dare you help these young people avoid the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. federal hate crimes law, Art? By you saying you don't think this had anything to do with race, Brother Elmore and Coach Tracy, you are helping these white folks avoid federal hate crimes charges. And let me tell you why this is important, Art. Let me tell you why this is important. Under the federal hate crimes law, Matthew Shepard, James Byrd, signed by Barack Obama, 2009. Under the Federal Hate Crimes Act, Art, you can go to jail for life. You can go to jail for life under the federal hate crimes law. So if you can go to jail for life under the Federal Hate Crimes Act, Art, why is Nolan's stepfather and coach telling white folks they don't think it had anything to do with race? I still love my brother Elmore. I still love my brother Coach Tracy. But would y'all please watch what comes out of your mouth during this investigation? Because you are undermining justice for Nolan. I hope you're listening, Brother Elmore. And I hope you're listening, Coach Tracy. You are undermining justice for Nolan by saying you don't think race had anything to do with it. How in the hell do you know? How do you know if race had anything to do with it? How well do you know these young people? It was 30 of them, Art. It was damn near 30 white youth spread across 3 boats. How many of them did Elmore know? How many of them did Coach Tracy know? So how are you going to go on TV and say, I don't think it had anything to do with race? Why are you helping them avoid accountability for what they may have done? I don't know if they did it, Art. You don't know if they did it. They don't know if they did it. And they definitely don't know if it was motivated by race. What they should have said, Art, is what Javon said. And that's why I like the young brother Javon. That's why I like that young brother Javon. His mother, Sister Tashima, shout out to you. You raised a good kid. When TMZ asked Javon if he thought it had anything to do with race, Art, when TMZ asked Javon if he thought this had anything to do with race, he said, what? I don't want to answer that question. I don't want to answer that question. Perfect answer. Perfect answer. Or, Art, they could have said, I don't know. Nolan's stepfather could have said, I don't know if it had anything to do with race. Coach Tracy should have said, I don't know if it had anything to do with race. But to say you don't think it had to do with race when he was the only black boy across 3 ships, are you out of your mind? Why would you say that and help them avoid the Federal Hate Crimes Act? Javon gave a better answer than those 2 black men. Javon, a child, gave a better answer than those 2 black men, Art, when he said, I don't want to answer the question. And shout out to Javon, Art. He's intelligent.
And he said that because he know it probably did. He didn't want to say it. You know what I mean? Because then he'd be ostracized. Everything he do, everything. And all his white friends would ostracize and stop playing with him. So he just says simply, I don't want to answer that question. Because he know in the back of his mind, it probably did. He know how the white boys be treating them down there. He know how them white boys be treating them down there. Everybody in power on that case is Caucasian. Do you see any black people involved with investigating that case from that side? Everybody from that side is either related, best friends, associates. They know each other. It's one big community. You heard what Tristan said, right? Springs is, if you don't know about us, you gonna find out. We stick together down here. And this is a black boy talking. We stick down together down here. You know, my black side, they never really showed me any love. But my white side, they show me all the love. They got me driving and doing the boats and everything, you know? That part. And was your uncle a white boy? His uncle was a white boy, man. Yeah.
You know why? Because by saying I don't want to answer the question, he answered the question. Of course, race has something to do with it. This is the United States of America. Race has something to do with everything involving black people. The country was built on the backs of black people. It's maintained on black people. We are disproportionately represented in the criminal justice system, overrepresented in the unemployment line, under the poverty line. Of course, everything in this country has to do with race. And I'm disappointed in us, Art, that we are so afraid to call racism what it is, that we literally got people asking us, when a white person takes the life of a black person, do you think it had anything to do with race? When a police officer takes the life or shoots a black person, do you think it had anything to do? What kind of idiotic gaslighting question is this, Art? all white people are racist. All white people are racist. So we can stop asking if it had anything to do with race. If it's black and it's white, it has something to do with race.
Facts, because they always feel like we want to take something from them, even though they took everything from us and then hoodwinked us to believe that they created all this stuff. You understand? All they do is steal our intellectual properties and then make the person who created that shit disappear. And then the white person that probably was sponsoring the venture would take it over like he created that shit. And you know why, right? Because if it had a black name on it at the time that it was created, it would never have gotten off the ground. But you put a white face behind that same product and watch what happened, right? Race has something to do with everything if it has something to do with black and white, man. When there's a white boy around, you just feel different, like, you know what I mean? You might not even hate the dude like that. It's just the fact that he's a white boy and he's here. And he might be over there hugged up with a black girl. Some people gonna feel a way about that. I can't watch a porno with a white boy plowing out a black girl. I can't do it. It just ain't, I can't see it. I'm like, man, get this shit out of here, man. Now, if it was a black dude plowing out one of them little white bunnies, I definitely could see that. You feel me?
All white people are racist. That's just how it is. Now, let's get back to this. Before we deal with the infamous Ceto call, Art, I got a few questions for Warren. I want to deal with that infamous Ceto call, Art, and I want to deal with Sister Tashima and Sister Christine's visit to Warren's home to get Nolan's cell phone. I want to deal with them two in a minute, but before I go there, I got a couple questions for Warren and his white friends. Nolan's best friend, and Warren even called Nolan his brother, Art. He even called him his brother. He said they spent the night together before they went out to White Devil's Horn Island, Art. The night before, July 3rd, they stayed in the same home. How do you stay in the same home with somebody, Art, and leave them on an island? How do you sleep in this?
He clearly left him at the house because he said him and Wyatt got up in the morning and broke out. And Nolan wasn't with us. That's what he said. Nolan spent the night with you niggas. But the next day you ran around fixing boats and this and that, and Nolan wasn't with you? That was a little weird to me too.
Same house with somebody, July 3rd, and then leave them on an island July 4th. But I got a few questions for Warren. No disrespect. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty, but I got a few questions for you, Warren. Since you could sit down and interview with Officer B.T. Coon, I need you to sit down and interview with Dr. Umar Ifatunde. So you can sit down and interview with Officer B.T. Coon, I want you to sit down and interview with Dr. Umar Ifatunde. My first question to Warren, you said that Nolan is a best friend of yours, that he's like a brother. I have a question. If Nolan is your brother and best friend, why did you leave him on that island, especially when you all were drinking? Because somebody put a report out there, Art, that Nolan had been drinking heavily and was intoxicated. Of course, that allegation was dismissed because the coach who contacted Sister Christine confirmed that he spoke to Nolan between 2:30 and 3:30, and Nolan was not intoxicated. So they lied to protect their friends, because white people are always on code, Art. Not a single white person on that island dropped a dime yet, not one of them. So anyway, Art, they tried to blame it on him being drunk. So he was just a drunk black kid who walked into the water and drowned. That's the narrative they wanted us to swallow. He was just a drunk black kid who walked into the water and drowned. And remember, Art, Sheriff Ledbetter allegedly ruled the case an accidental drowning before he did any investigation. He ruled Nolan's death an accidental drowning before he did any investigation. As far as I'm concerned, that meets the definition of public corruption. As far as I'm concerned, that meets the definition of public corruption. But stand with Warren, Art. Warren, if Nolan is your brother and best friend, why did you leave him on an island without his cell phone and his keys? Why did you take his cell phone and keys back to the mainland? You left him there and took his cell phone and keys back. Can you please explain that to me? What person wants to be on an island without their phone? Help me understand that, Warren. I don't know of an 18-year-old who wants to be anywhere without their phone, Art. They don't want to be in school without their phone. They don't want to be at home without their phone. They don't want to be out of town without their phone. They don't want to be at the mall, the movies, the restaurant. They don't want to be nowhere without their phone, let alone on an island with no way to get off. You left your best friend on an island, your so-called brother. You left him on an island with no way to get off, and you took his phone and his keys. Can you explain that to me, Warren? While you're thinking about it, I got another question for you, Warren, while you're thinking about it. You said at 11 o'clock, you called Miss Christine to see if she heard from her son. Warren said, Art, I called Miss Christine to see if she heard from Nolan. She said she had not heard from Nolan. Can I ask you a question, Warren? If you took his phone, how in the hell was his mother supposed to hear from her son when you have the son's phone? Did you tell Miss Christine that you had her son's phone when you called her? I bet you didn't. I bet you didn't. Think about that, Art. He called the mother and asked her if she heard from her son. But he knows she didn't hear from her son, Art, because he has her son's phone. How can the mother hear from Nolan when you have Nolan's cell phone and you left him on an island? And I bet you didn't tell her you had his phone. Because if she knew you had his phone, Art, she would not have had to use Life 360 to find the phone.
You're right.
If you had his phone and you called her at 11 o'clock to see if Nolan was okay, why didn't you tell Nolan's mom you had his phone? Why did my sister Christine and my sister Tashima have to use Life 360 to find their son's phone? Because you playing games. You playing games. You playing in our face like we stupid. That's what this is. I don't know if he did it, Art, but he damn sure knows who do. I allege and I believe that all 30 of those white kids on all 3 of them boats know exactly which one of them did it, and the rest of them are covering it up. And guess what, Warren? And the rest of you 30 white kids on those 3 boats, let me explain something to you. Federal hate crimes law, you can go to jail for the rest of your life in case nobody didn't tell you. Federal hate crimes law, you can go to jail for the rest of your life in case nobody told you. Guess what? The Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, you can go to jail for up to 30 years. And if Nolan was unalived by more than one person, that constitutes a lynching. That constitutes a lynching. So you can go to jail for up to 30 on the Emmett Till Act. You can go to jail for life on the Matthew Shepard James Byrd Hate Crimes Act. And in the state of Mississippi, Art, if you are an accessory after the fact, not accomplice, accomplice means you participated in the murder.
Accessory, meaning you help cover it up. Y'all get that? Accessory after the fact, meaning you told lies to divert our attention over here. Huh? Did y'all roles play anything? Did your role play do anything? Did something you say send us to look over here knowing that we wasn't gonna find nothing? Because if you did that, you're liable. So we're giving y'all opportunity at this point in time, right? Right, Umar? This is what we're doing, right? We're giving them the opportunity to be either become a witness or a suspect. At this point, you're either a witness or you're a suspect. Am I correct, Omar?
Accessory means you help cover it up afterwards. If you are an accessory to the fact after the fact, Art, you can go to jail for up to 20 years, Mississippi law. So they can go to jail for up to 20 years, Mississippi law, accessory after the fact, you help to cover up the crime. You can go to jail for 30 years on the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, because more than one of you probably participated in Nolan's unaliving. And under the Matthew Shepard James Berg Federal Hate Crimes Act, Art, they can go to jail for life. And this is why I need Nolan's step pop and coach to watch what comes out of their mouth and stop trying to help these white kids avoid accountability for what they did to Nolan. Because if the tables will turn, white folks are not going to try to help your child avoid any accountability. So stop the
None.
now.
None. I agree with you.
Another question I have for Warren. You said you and Nolan been friends since 8th grade. Since 8th grade, Art. But Sister Christine says she don't know none of them kids really, Art. She don't know them white kids.
Hit the brakes. Uma. All my friends knew my parents, man. Personally, man. They probably could go to my house without me. My moms would open the door, let them in, have a conversation. Might ask them if they want something to eat. They thirsty. You know what I mean? My moms knew anybody I considered a friend, right? Because when you consider somebody a friend, you want them to meet your parents. So your parents know who you out there running around with. And if you some lonely black kid and you got all these rich white friends, right? That's something you would want to show off to your moms, right? Meet my rich white friends. She said she never met them. And then Warren co-signed it when he said, yeah, we never been to his house. How you call somebody your best friend and you've never been to their house? You know how he said, I saw his father, I met his father at the Waffle House. We used to be at the Waffle House and he would come around and lurk around. He didn't say that he literally had a conversation with the man. He said he used to watch him lurking around, like he used to be around the Waffle House. That's not a friend, man. It's not. It's really not. I don't know what kind of friends y'all got, but that right there, I don't consider a friend, Umar. How about you?
So help me understand how you are Nolan's best friend, friends since 8th grade. You called him your brother. Y'all spent the night together July the 3rd, the morning before y'all went to White Devil's Horn Island. And his mother don't even know who you are. And you said out your own mouth that y'all never hung out at Nolan's house. So how are y'all best friends? I had best friends growing up, Art. My mother knew who they were. Who has a best friend that they mom don't know about? Help me understand that.
My moms know who my friends is to this day, even though we don't associate around my moms like that. You know what I mean? Like, she know them from being my friends from when we was younger. 18, 19. You understand? She know my friends. I know my friends' parents. I met my friends' fathers, mothers. To say you was somebody's best friend and don't know their parents, that ain't right. Nah, I don't believe that. I mean, everybody, just think about it, man. Do your parents know your best friends? Like, people you consider to be your best friends, man. Do your parents know these people? Think about that.
A best friend and the mom don't know him, it sounds suspicious. Why didn't you tell Miss Christine you had her son's cell phone when you called and asked if she heard from him? Art, as far as I'm concerned, there's probable cause he has something to do with this. Art, I'm holding her son's cell phone. I left him on the island. I took his keys and phone. And I'm on the phone with the mom. I got his phone, but I'm calling his mother at 11 o'clock. Have you heard from your son? And I'm holding her son's cell phone, and I don't even tell her. Art, this ain't making no sense.
That right there, as a black man, would have got you locked up.
This ain't making no sense. And I want to know from Sheriff John Ledbetter, Art, Jackson County Sheriff, you don't have probable cause just off of that alone? Somebody calls somebody's mom asking if she heard from him while they have their phone and left him stranded on the island. And if you care so much about Nolan, Art, if he cares so much about Nolan, the so-called white best friend, Art, why did you wait till 11 o'clock? Y'all left the island for 4:30. Y'all left the island for 4:30.
All right, they left the island for 4:30, and everybody for some reason wanted to take a nap. Right? Tristan said he went to sleep and he woke up around 11. Right? This dude started calling the parents around 11. And they also say that the sheriff that was supposed to take over the shift that night at 11 o'clock was related to the girl whose house they all was in at the time. Remember, they was all supposed to be headed to the after party. So they was at the after party. Instead of partying, Warren went upstairs to talk to the girl's father for a couple of hours. And then he came downstairs. And then everybody started asking him, yo, where's Nolan? You know, where's Nolan? I don't know. I thought you knew where Nolan was at. All that don't make no sense. You understand? So you trying to say out of all the 30 people that Nolan came with, he ain't say goodbye to none of you. He ain't say goodbye to none of you. He just disappeared on a deserted island in the middle of the ocean. Make this make sense, man. Yo, Omar. Yeah, I see it written all over your face. Tell him to make this make sense, man, because it ain't making no sense. It ain't adding up. And we gonna want some answers and some results real soon. Because as of now, we passed a month and we ain't got no answers, but we seem to have all the questions, right?
If you care so much about Nolan, why are you not calling his mother until 11 o'clock? It's pitch black outside at 11 o'clock.
Pitch black, sundown time. Can't see 2 feet in front of you, all right? A best friend would have called immediately. Look, Miss Christine, we was just on Horns Island. Nolan refused to get on the boat with us. We kept telling him, let's go. He telling us, yo, I want to stay with Shorty. So he stayed over there on that island with Christy, or Christy, or whatever her name. He stayed over there with her. And we got his phone. So I don't know what he gonna do when he get back. His car's over here. This is what should have happened. Once they got back to the mainland, they should have called his moms and told what he just did. He refused to get on the boat. We were telling him, let's go. He stayed over there, so I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Here's Christy's number. You could call her because that's who we seen him with last. And because, yo, I just want you to know, he refused to come back with us. So there it is. But you don't wait till 11 o'clock at night to do that. When your boy is on shift, so y'all can start moving around bodies and all this other craziness without being on the record. We know what happened here, man. Y'all can't even hide it, cover it up no more. It's just that when the truth comes out for some reason, the truth teller gets punished. You understand?
It's pitch black. It's almost midnight, and you wait till 11 o'clock to call his mom and ask her if she heard from her son, but he's supposed to be your brother and best friend. Listen here, Warren. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And then I have a question for his dad, too, Art. I don't know if you know this, but his dad has started an online fundraising platform for Warren and two of his friends. I think they raised $160,000 so far. $160,000. Nobody has been arrested. Nobody has received a warrant. Nobody has been indicted. Nobody has been charged. Art, if you are innocent, why are you raising money online? You ain't been charged with a crime at all. The state of Mississippi is doing everything they can to make sure y'all don't get charged with anything. So why are you raising money online? Why did y'all cancel your social media? Why are y'all lawyering up? They hired Donald Trump's lawyer, Art. One of Donald Trump's lawyers is now the three of their lawyers. If you innocent, what you need Donald Trump's lawyer for? If you're innocent, what you raising $160,000 for? It sounds like y'all getting ready to defend yourselves. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like y'all think the truth is going to get out really, really soon, and y'all want to be prepared for it. Again, Art, I'm not saying he did it, but I definitely believe he knows who do. Now, we're going to get to this call. But before we get to this call, Art, I'm going to ask a question to Benjamin Crump. Attorney Benjamin Crump. I met him twice, Art. I met Benjamin Crump the day before I graduated with my doctorate at an Urban League conference in New Orleans. I presented at a workshop at the Urban League conference in New Orleans. This is July of 2012. And I flew back to graduate and get my doctorate in clinical psychology. We had lunch. It's a few of us at the table. We had lunch. Okay? This is around the Trayvon era. And then I met Benjamin Crump again at HBCU Delaware State University about 3 or 4 years ago at the Black Farmers Conference that was put on by one of the black professors there. She invited me to keynote the luncheon, and she switched me out at the last minute for Attorney Benjamin Crump. I understand it was a black bourgeoisie event. I'm not a member of the black bourgeoisie. I got switched out. I understand. No harm, no foul. Ben Crump gave a good speech. But here's my question to Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton. Art. How long are y'all going to wait around before y'all call a spade a spade? How long is Ben Crump and Al Sharpton going to wait around, Art, before they tell the...
Because they doing a lot of beating around the bush. I'm going to keep it 100. You down there on the field, in the field, and it's just, they still doing what they want to do. Like, you had an autopsy scheduled, right? And instead of them waiting for y'all, because instead of for them waiting for your autopsy, you got to come down to Mississippi or whatever to take a look at this. Y'all maybe could have conference called this thing, right? They could have conference called this thing, man. So everybody could have been on the same page, but instead of doing that, you dudes allowed them to get away with doing this and then keeping all the evidence to prove your point. Why y'all letting them do it? How is it possible that y'all allowing them to get away with this, man? You on the ground. I got to ask the right questions, man, and make it public. Bring this shit to the street. They trying to cover it up. Ask them why they rushed the autopsy, and why are they holding the results? Like, why does not Nolan Wells' parents have the results of his autopsy? Why do they not have the results, my man? Why do I believe that Nolan Wells' parents should have the results instead of Mississippi? Who is Mississippi that y'all don't have to give up the results of the autopsy, man? Like, what part of the game is that?
The world that they don't think this investigation is being done correctly. How long before Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton demand that the FBI and Department of Justice take over this investigation? Art, it's been over a month and we know nothing.
Nothing.
It's been over a month and we know nothing. Now, let me say this, Art.
We know nothing.
There's several circumstances through which you can demand the FBI come in and take over an investigation. One of them, Art, if there is a suspicion of public corruption or obstruction of justice. The FBI, the Department of Justice, can come in and take over a case on the suspicion of public corruption or obstruction of justice. So you're going to say, Dr. Umar, what evidence do you have of that? First of all, they declared this an accidental drowning before they did any investigation. That's a cover-up. Not only that, Art, they never treated the boat like a crime scene. They never took a look at the other two boats. We have no information at all on the other two boats. Those 30 white kids should have had their cell phones confiscated, investigated. All their social media should have been investigated. Their homes should have been investigated. They should have all been interrogated. They should have been investigated to see if they or their parents had any connection to any of the white hate groups in the state of Mississippi. None of that was done. They gave the boat back to the owner, Art. They gave the boat back. The boat may have been a crime scene, and they gave it back. Now,
they gave it back, and then they tried to accuse Ben Crump of not allowing them to put the dogs to check. It's not his boat. It's not Ben Crump's boat. It's not Al Sharpton's boat. It's not Nolan Wells' mother's Christine's boat. It's none of their boats. It's the person who owned the boat's boat. So why didn't they go to that person and say, yo, we getting ready to put the dogs on your boat? Matter of fact, it's supposed to be a crime scene. We're supposed to confiscate the boat. We ain't got to ask you no permission to do the dog test on the boat. You don't have to have permission to do the dog test on the boat. You think a crime took place on that boat, you supposed to confiscate the boat and put the dogs on the boat. You don't ask questions. Y'all state of Mississippi. You're doing what you want to do anyway, right? So why you ain't just put the motherfucking dogs on the boat instead of coming back talking to my, well, we asked Ben Crump if we can put the dogs. Nigga, who you talking to, motherfucker? Who you talking to? See how they pull the wool over your eyes? Ben Crump said he didn't want us to do it. He didn't even answer the phone to tell you niggas nothing. They never even responded to y'all. Like, why would they be asking us if they could do the boat? That ain't even our boat, man. And they know that's not our boat, man. So why would we be asking Ben Crump if we could put the cadaver dogs on the boat, man? What if he said, yeah, God, put the dogs on the boat? Yeah? And then the owner be like, yo, what's going on here? Nah, I don't want them dogs on my boat. Get out of here. What was y'all gonna do? Huh? Was y'all gonna contract y'all's first statement and say, no. He said, the owner said, no, y'all gonna run with that same narrative Ben Crump said he didn't want y'all to do the test on the boat. It's not his boat, man. So stop lying.
According to the Cajun Navy, another question for Ben Crump, Art. According to the Cajun Navy, they offered Ben Crump to put dogs on the boat and let the dogs sniff it out to see if anybody had recently been deceased on that boat or if there had been any blood on that boat. And according to the representative from the Cajun Navy, Ben Crump told him don't do it. So I need Ben Crump, respectfully, I'm not accusing him of nothing, Art, but I need Ben Crump to explain to me why you didn't let them use the dogs to sniff out that boat.
Omar, no offense, brother, but it was not his boat to give them permission to do anything, right? What they should have did was confiscated the boat. No. See, they say sea tow. They say the sea tow offered. What is that? Something Navy offered. Why the police ain't offer? Why the FBI ain't offer? Huh? Why we got third entities that ain't got nothing to do with nothing offering things like cadaver dogs and all this other craziness? Why the police ain't do all that? Because they could have just confiscated the boat and searched it. Right? You see how they wiggling their way around this shit, right? Huh? The Navy people offered the boat. They didn't check the boat. For what? Are they the people that's supposed to be investigating this, man? Or is the police, the FBI? To answer your question for Mr. Ben Crump, Umar, is that it wasn't his boat.
Why did you not let them sniff out that boat with them dogs? Did you have your own dogs to sniff out the boat? Because if you didn't, why didn't you let them sniff the boat out with the dogs? The dogs can tell, Art, if somebody had recently lost their life or if blood had been spilled. He said Ben Crump told him no. I need Ben Crump to explain that.
Ben Crump never said no. They never even answered the phone. If you hear it, I don't know where you got that information from, but if you heard what the guy said out his own mouth, he said that they never answered the phone. He never got a response. So he took that as a no. But we can't give you a yes or no because it's not our boat. The boat belongs to them.
I need Sheriff John Ledbetter to explain why the boat wasn't treated as a crime scene, potential crime scene. I need him to explain why all them white kids wasn't arrested and questioned, because if it was black kids and a white kid went missing, Art, they would have all been arrested and questioned. You know that. They would have all been arrested and questioned. And then let's talk about the autopsy, Art. Let's talk about the autopsy. So the Mississippi State Medical Examiner, they do their autopsy July 7th, right? July 7th. And then Nolan's mother requested an independent autopsy, as she should have. They send Nolan's body to Washington, D.C. When the black medical examiner gets Nolan's corpse, Art, the throat tissue and the lung tissue is gone. How is he supposed to determine if Nolan died from being choked out or if Nolan died from drowning if he don't have the throat tissue or the lung tissue, Art? How is he supposed to do his job and y'all didn't send the throat tissue or the lung tissue? And nobody has explained yet whether or not the medical examiner in D.C. is ever going to get the throat tissue or the lung tissue. And I personally believe, Art, Nolan was deceased before he hit the water. I believe Nolan was deceased before he hit the water. And the reason they held on to the throat tissue and the reason they held on to the lung tissue is they didn't want nobody to know that Nolan was murdered before he hit that water. Just like Emmett Till was murdered before he hit that water. Just like Dr. King's brother, A.D. King, was murdered before he hit that water. Remember, Art, when Dr. King's brother was murdered, Reverend A.D. King, they found him in a swimming pool. They ruled it a drowning. And then one of the paramedics said what, Art? One of the paramedics who took Dr. King's brother out the pool, Art, said he didn't have no water in his lungs. The paramedic said he didn't have no water in his lungs, Art. And plus, A.D. King, just like Nolan, A.D. King, just like Nolan, was a great swimmer, Art. Was a great swimmer. They kept them lungs, I believe. They kept the lungs, Art, because they knew that those lungs would have provided evidence of the fact that Nolan may have been deceased before he hit that water. They kept the throat because it may have shown some trauma that Nolan may have gotten choked out. And then you got the red substance around the back of the head that the DC medical examiner discussed. We don't know if Nolan got hit in the back of the head. We don't know if the blood simply drained to the back of the head. But here's the thing, Art. They say Nolan was found face down in the water. Nolan was found face down in the water, Art. Not only that, Nolan was transported face down to Washington, D.C. So guess what, Art? I have my doubts as to whether or not the red, which is probably blood in the back of the head, the subcutaneous red area, Art, I don't think that has anything to do with the blood draining to the back. You want to know why? Because he was found floating on his face. And he was sent to Washington, D.C. on his face. So the blood couldn't have went backwards, Art. I believe Nolan got hit in the back of the head, and it was that hit that cost him his life. It was that hit that cost him his life. It was that hit that cost him his life. Now, with that being said, Art, I want to go to Sister Tashima and Sister Christine going over to Warren's home, allegedly, to get Nolan's phone. So Sister Christine reported Nolan missing around 12:22 p.m. on the 4th. Sometime after that, her and Sister Tashima, Javon's mom, used Life 360 Art, and they tracked the phone to Warren's home. I believe it was Warren's home. Don't hold me to that. I believe it was, no, I think it was one over the friend's home, lady friend's home. I think Warren said they were swimming at a lady friend's home. Whoever house it was one of them kids who was out there on White Devil Horns Island. So they tracked the phone to this house, Art. And Sister Tashima said when they opened up the door, the house was dark. You know why the house was dark, Art? They turned the lights off so they wouldn't recognize nobody's face. When they saw Nolan's mom is outside, this is what I believe happened. This is what I'm gonna let. Nolan's mother and Javon's mother are outside. How did they know where we are? Turn the lights off because they are not going to leave until we open this door. They turned the lights off, Art, so they could hide. They didn't know that Nolan had Life 360 on that phone. They didn't know that Nolan had Life 360. Now, Sister Tashima said, Art, it took them 15 minutes to bring the phone. Art, she said it took them 15 minutes. You know why? Because they was deleting his Snapchat accounts. That's why, Art. It took them 15 minutes to bring the phone because they were deleting Nolan's Snapchat account. And they also needed to make sure they had their story straight in case Sister Christine and Sister Tashima had any more questions, Art. That's what was going on. But let me say this to Sister Christine and Sister Tashima. My beautiful African sisters, don't you ever again in your life go to a home at that time of night by yourself without no men. Brother Elmore should have been with y'all. You are in Mississippi. You don't know who would have been in that house. You don't know what type of racist rednecks could have came out there and attacked you guys, and y'all could have ended up missing just like Nolan. And once again, they would have said they never saw y'all. And once again, they would have said that they never saw y'all. So please don't do that again. I know you was looking for your son. I know you was helping your girlfriend look for her son. But don't y'all ever pull up at no white people's house you don't know after midnight. Don't you do that no more, ladies. Bring a couple alpha males with you. Bring Brother Elmore with you next time. But this is what I wish they would have done, Art. Let me tell you what I wish they would have done. When Sister Tashima and Sister Christine got to that house, Art, I wish they would not have told them they knew the phone was in there. Stay with me, Art. I wish they would have not told them they knew the phone. They should have played it off, Art. They should have said, we want to know if anybody has seen Nolan. We haven't heard from him since he went with y'all to White Devil's Horn Island. And they would have said, we ain't heard from him, Art. And then I would have said, Do you know if Nolan had his phone with him? I've been calling my son all day. He's not picking up. Do you know if he had his phone? And if they would have said no, Art, if they would have said, we don't know if he had his phone or not, you know what I would have done? I would have called the police and I would have told the police, Art, my son is missing. He went to White Devil's Horn Island with these white kids in his house. They have his phone. They don't know I know they have his phone. And they just lied to my face and told me that they don't know where the phone is and the phone is right in there with them. I believe that they are suspects in my son's disappearance and I want them all arrested. That's what I wish they would have done, Art. I wish they didn't tell them they knew.
Well, at the time, on their behalf, if your son is missing, thinks that the phone is in there, I think I would have probably did this. Yo, son, I just tracked his phone here, man. Don't play with me. I think I would have told him the phone was there too. So, but you also right about them going there by themselves. They could have got beat the fuck up and took off too. You right.
The phone was in there. I wish they would have act like they didn't know if the phone was in there and just asked them if they saw the phone. And once those white kids lied, I would have called the police. Because they never thought anybody was coming for Nolan's phone and keys. They never thought anyone was coming for Nolan's phone and keys because they didn't know Sister Christine had Life 360 on that phone, Art. They did not know that. And I think it is so disrespectful, Art, so racist and so bigoted that white people are filing false reports on Sister Christine's nursing license, Art. She now got to go before the nursing board in Mississippi, Art. Nolan's mother, still grieving the death of her son, she got to go and defend her credentials because white folks are mad that she's demanding justice for her son. This sounds just like Mamie Till Mobley, Emmett Till's mother. They did the same thing to Emmett Till, Art. After they assassinated Emmett Till, they harassed his mother. They sent her all type of threatening phone calls, letters. Notices. Here we are, Art. 61 years later, they doing the same thing to Nolan Wells' mom. For black people who think white people have changed, for black people who think white people have changed, Art, it's time to wake up and smell the coffee. They are their ancestors, Art. They are their ancestors. They might be worse. They are their ancestors. And since they are their ancestors, we need to be our ancestors. Now, let's talk about the infamous Cito call, Art. So again, Javon sees Nolan at 3:40. The coach sees Nolan between 2:30 and 3:30. Katie sees Nolan between 3 and 4:30. I already told you I believe Nolan was unalived between 3:30 and 4:30. Now, our sister, what was her name? Jacqueline Brentley or something. Jeanette Brentley, Jacqueline Brentley. Forgive me, sister, for mispronouncing your name. But our sister, who is an audio engineer, Art, she went through the laborious process of cleaning up the background conversation during the infamous Cito call.
And you know what's funny about that, Umar, is that now you guys, these people right around trying to convince you that you did not hear what you was hearing. You understand me? They literally got people who's supposed to be professionals out here putting their careers on the line to cover this up, right? Because they'll say some shit like, yo, the mind is funny. You can hear whatever you want to hear. And, you know, once they put the words on the screen, it directs you to hear. Motherfucker, I don't give a what you put on the screen, man. I know what I heard, brother. I heard a nigga say, Bart. Oh, my God, is he dead? Can we cover this? I heard it all. I heard it all. See all that equipment over there? You see all that equipment? We know how this equipment work, man. There's no adding nothing to nothing, bro. There's no adding nothing to nothing, man. She sat there and put on the screen what she did. I got that same Logic Pro 10, the Logic Pro X program that she claims she used. I use the same thing, man. We use it to clear up things, man. So you can hear things in the background. Got noise reduction. Got all kinds of stuff going on in that program. Can you add something to it? Yeah, but it would have to be a separate track if you add something to it. She didn't know nothing about Bart until Bart's name was mentioned on that tape. So y'all gonna try to say y'all didn't even hear him say Bart's name on the tape? Or is over 1 million people just imagining this shit? Stop playing with us, boy.
She cleaned up the background audio during the infamous Ceto call, Art. And during the infamous Ceto call, Art, according to her cleanup, it sounds like they were trying to clean up an unaliving of Nolan Wells. You hear people saying things like, is he still alive? Did you unalive him? Is he okay? People are shocked, asking questions. Is he still breathing? If that tape gets corroborated, all the white young folks on those 3 boats need to go to jail, Art. They need to be charged, all of them. Whether you committed the crime, whether you was an accomplice to the crime, whether you was an accessory to the crime.
Because
whether
you
committed
happened and you ain't say nothing. You just sat back, you let the whole country go crazy when you knew what happened. So once, Ben Crump said he got the tape, he taking it to the professionals that they can't deny, right? He's taking it to the professionals that you cannot deny, because the courts have a tendency to do that. You coming in with your little evidence on tape, think you gonna win, son? Hold on, I got this shit on tape. I can show you exactly what happened. Right? You know what? I ain't gonna accept that. Because you can't prove that you didn't alter it, edit it, do. Motherfuckers, a fucking video with the timestamp, everything on the phone. But at this point, they consider you such a professional that you can make all those changes without them noticing, right? But when it comes to me showing you my evidence, I can't because it's been tampered with. Right? So let's see what they say about the professionals, people who's qualified to do this, right? Let's see if they deny. Because truth be told, I don't believe she edited nothing. I don't think she added nothing because I sat here and watched how she did it. She showed you. Go to her page and she'll show you exactly what she was doing as she was doing it. And you don't see her add anything. You see her on the tracks. You see the sound indicators. Did you see her go to a microphone over there? Start screaming names. What? Names she don't even know exist at the time when she was doing it. Right? Did you see her do that? No. You didn't see that. Did you see her adding extra tracks that wasn't there? With voices from a Ceto call? No, you didn't. But they are trying so hard to convince us that we did not hear what we heard. Huh? I'm sick of that. I'm sick of you telling me I ain't hear what I heard, homeboy. Mississippi burning.
Crime, first-degree murder. Whether you was an accomplice to the crime, you helped them carry it out. Whether you was an accessory to the crime, you helped them plan it, or you helped them cover it up, Art, because I'm having problems. I'm having problems with this investigation. It is too lax. It is too soft. And my question to Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, how long before y'all going to demand that the Federal Department of Justice take over the investigation, Art? As I was saying earlier, you can demand the feds to take over the investigation, Art, if there is concern about public corruption in obstruction of justice. One of the boys' mom or stepmom, and I think it's Warren, allegedly, one of the boys' mothers or stepmothers is a Chancery Court judge. Another one of the children's parents
Warren.
is allegedly tied to the FBI. So, Art, if their parents are tied up in the Mississippi state power structure, if these children's parents are tied up in the Mississippi state power structure, you know damn well Mississippi is not trying to find any of those kids guilty of anything. You know that. Mississippi does not have a history of helping black people find justice against white people. That is not the history of Mississippi. It ain't the history of Arkansas. It ain't the history of Texas. It ain't the history of Louisiana. It ain't the history of South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, or none of those states. So why is it Ben Crump and Al Sharpton calling for a federal investigation? That's number one. Number two, Art, guess what? Horns Island is federal land. Horns Island is federal land, Art. If Horns Island...
How the fuck is that Horns Island is federal land? Like, how do you get that? Huh? It's just a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere. It's just a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere. And the federal government just claimed it. It's federal property. Right.
It's federal land, Art. Why are we not demanding that the feds do the investigation and not Sheriff Ledbetter? The island is federal land, Art. It's federal land. Why aren't the feds carrying out the investigation? That's the second reason they should be involved. The third reason they should be involved, Art, is there's a strong likelihood that this was a federal hate crime and a lynching. Very strong likelihood that this was Nolan Wells' death is very likely to have been a federal hate crime, and it is very likely to have been a federal lynching, meaning more than one person participated in the racially motivated crime. So I just gave you 3 reasons why the feds should be investigating this case and not the sheriff's office. Why is Ben Crump and Al Sharpton dragging their feet? Benjamin Crump, you need to have a street march. You need to bring all of the black militia groups to Mississippi, and we need to march on Mississippi. Your approach to this investigation is too humble, it is too docile, it is too meek, it is too soft. You are dealing with Mississippi, and you have not activated any street protests. Sister Christine and Brother Nolan are not going to get justice, Art. Sister Christine and Brother Nolan Wells are not going to get justice, Art, if Benjamin Crump doesn't activate a street activism campaign. It is time for Ben Crump and Al Sharpton to activate a street activism campaign. And let me say this, Art. Al Sharpton is about to have another march on Washington. For what? For what? He's going to commemorate the Dr. King 1963 March on Washington. He's been doing it almost every year. But Art, it's an empty symbol. Al Sharpton, listen to me, sir. You don't need to march on D.C. We don't need another empty, meaningless, Democratic Party-sponsored march in Washington, D.C. We need you to switch that march, Art. Al Sharpton, if he cares about justice for black Mississippi, if Al Sharpton cares about justice for black Mississippi, Art, he will switch the march from D.C. to Mississippi. Al Sharpton needs to switch the march from Washington, D.C. to Mississippi. And it should be 4 days, Art. It should be 4 days, Art. We should march in Senatobia, Mississippi one day for Baby Cohen, who was shot and murdered by the police in the Walmart parking lot. We got to march for Baby Cohen, who was shot by the police in Senatobia. We have to march in Cleveland, Mississippi for our brother Trey Reed, who was unalived September 15th, 2025, hanging from a tree on Delta State University campus in Cleveland, Mississippi, September 15th, 2025. So we need to march in Cleveland, Mississippi. We need to march in Senatobia, Mississippi. We need to march in Jackson, Mississippi, because what just happened in Jackson on Monday, Art? A black woman, 28, 29 years old, Tasia Fortune, was found hanging from a tree. Monday, Art, 4 days ago, a black woman was found hanging from a tree in Jackson, Mississippi. And check this out, Art. They said her corpse, her body, had been hanging from the tree for 3 to 4 days, Art. 3 to 4 days, her body was hanging. It gets worse, Art. It gets worse. They said they had to use a ladder. They had to use a ladder to go up on the tree and get our sister Tasia down. And guess what the Mississippi State Medical Examiner ruled it, Art? Guess what she ruled it? The same thing she ruled Trey Reed's death as: suicide. Let me ask you a question, Art. How many black people you know hang themselves from trees? I don't know no black person who have ever taken their life by hanging themselves from a tree. In fact, it's almost impossible to hang yourself from a tree. In fact, black people have been hung from trees by white people for over 200 years. So you mean to tell me the very method that has been used to take our lives at the hands of white people, we are now taking the method ourselves, Art? We are now taking the method ourselves, Art, and we're going to hang ourselves with a noose the same way white people used to hang our ancestors? Who does that make sense to? That don't make no damn sense. So now all of a sudden, when black people want to take their life, we're going to go outside, get a noose, and hang ourselves suspended from a tree. That's nonsense.
To the point.
And the Mississippi State Medical Examiner, Art, every time a black person is found hanging in Mississippi, she wants to rule it a suicide. You know why, Art? If you rule it a suicide, you don't have to investigate. If you rule it a suicide, you can close the case and you don't have to investigate. So Ben Crump and Al Sharpton need to turn up the heat under Sheriff Ledbetter's office. They need to turn up the heat under District Attorney Moraf's office, because they are dragging their feet. They are not taking this investigation seriously. It is too quiet. We don't know anything. Sister Christine don't know anything after 30 days, and Ben Crump and Al Sharpton need to go to the streets. Since you like to march every year in Washington, D.C., Al Sharpton, why don't you bring your behind to Mississippi and march? We need to march in Senatobia. We need to march in Cleveland, Mississippi. We need to march in Jackson for Sister Tasia Fortune. And we need to march in Ocean Springs for Brother Nolan Wells. And check this out, Art. The Attorney General said they're going to keep the toxicology and the autopsy report under seal. They're going to keep the toxicology and the autopsy under seal, Art, until the grand jury gets to see it. A grand jury is going to decide whether or not anybody's going to get charged with a crime, Art. And I have a big problem with that, Art. That's what happened with Carmelo Anthony. That's what happened with Carmelo Anthony. A grand jury proceeding is a relatively secret process, Art. You don't even know who's on the grand jury, Art. You don't even know who's a group of secret white people. A group of secret white people are going to decide if any of those 30 white kids on those 3 boats should be charged with a crime in the death of Nolan Wells. And we won't even know who they are, and we won't even know how they came to their decision, Art. We won't even know who the grand jury is, and we won't even...
And that's right there, that process is so stupid to me. Like, how is it that they got that kind of power where they could... No, man, that needs to be switched up somehow, man. Because that right there is the main way you get away with covering shit up.
Know how the grand jury came to their decision. What is Ben Crump ready to do? What is Al Sharpton ready to do if the grand jury returns no indictments on anybody at all for the death of Nolan Wells? Will Benjamin Crump be ready to march then, Art? Will Al Sharpton be ready to march in Mississippi then? If the grand jury says this was an accidental drowning, case is closed, no indictments, what is Ben Crump and Al Sharpton going to do? Because right now, and I respect them both, Art, but right now, the way this case is being handled, they are too docile, they are too meek, they are too humble, and they are too soft. We need some street action. We need some street protests. We need some street marches. We need to raise up the temperature in Mississippi, Art. That's what we need to do. This is the state that unalived Medgar Evers. This is the state that lynched Emmett Till. This is the state that took the life of Baby Cohen. This is the state that lynched Tasia Fortune. This is the state that lynched Trey Reed. This is Mississippi, the state that tried to lynch Fannie Lou Hamer, the state that tried to lynch Ida B. Wells. When are we going to wake up and smell the coffee? Now, let's get to the infamous call, Art, and I'm going to wrap this up. Let me get to the infamous call, and I'm going to wrap this up. They called the Cito company at 4 o'clock. We already talked about the background noise that the audio engineer, our beautiful black sister, Jeanette Brentley, cleaned up. Sounds very suspicious, Art. It sounds like they may have been in the act of unaliving Nolan Wells when they made the call. It sounds like they may have been in the act of unaliving Nolan Wells when they made the call, Art. Allegedly. And guess what, Art? That would make perfect sense. You want to know why? Because the call was bogus. Nothing was wrong with that shit. This is my allegations. This is my belief and my allegations, and I'm standing on it. Nothing was wrong with the boat, Art, and I'm going to explain to you how we know this. Nothing was wrong with that boat. They made that call because they needed an alibi, Art. They needed an alibi. So if Nolan Wells, when Nolan's body was found, Art, if they were able to determine the time of death, when Nolan's body was found, and if they were able to determine the time of death, they say, wait a minute, Nolan was unalived at 4 o'clock. Guess what, Art? They could say our boat was sinking at 4 o'clock and we was on the phone with Cito. The phone call was an alibi, Art. The phone call was a decoy. The phone call was a bait and switch. There was nothing wrong with that boat.
It was a bait and switch because as they was on the phone, and that's Wyatt on the phone tomorrow, we going down, we just going down now. Right? She put the captain on the phone right after he said that, we going down now. She switched over to the captain. The captain said cancel the call. The grandfather said the tow was not. You just 1 second ago told the Cito lady you was going down. You transferred over to the nearest captain, and he told you that the grandfather already told you that he didn't need, that y'all didn't need the tow. So, meaning, picture this. He's already on the phone with the grandfather, right? The captain was talking to the grandfather before the Cito call. And in the middle of the Cito call, the grandfather canceled it, said cancel the boat. We don't need it. Come on, man. It gets no clearer than this, bro. Like, we not stupid, Mississippi. Huh? We pretty smart, right? Yeah. We so smart, we figured this shit out. We done figured it out. We know all the players involved. We know what they did, know where they went, where they came from. Huh? The lady thought you dudes was on the island. Are you guys on the island? It seems like you're on the island. She says it seems like you guys are on the island when y'all was making that call. So how y'all get from here to here without even leaving the chase? Continue, Umar.
Art. So listen, we know that Mississippi is going to find all the audio engineers they can find, Art. We know that Mississippi is going to find all the audio engineers that they can find, Art, to try to say that the background noise cannot be
Legible.
corroborated or verified. You know they're going to say that. They're going to say we can't use the.
Started already. They started already, Umar. That's what I'm saying. They got all these people out here trying to convince us that what we heard, we didn't hear. Y'all motherfuckers can go to hell with that. Because I know what I heard. Clear as day. Can't even unhear it once you hear it. So we ain't going for that one either.
Background noise. There's too much going on. We don't care what Sister Jeanette Brantley had to say. We don't care what y'all conspiracy theorists got to say. We had our own FBI audio engineers listen to it, and they can't make out the conversation. I believe it says what Sister Jeanette Brantley says it says. I believe it, Art. It makes perfect sense. They called at the time that they were unaliving him to have an alibi and an excuse. But guess what, Art? Even if they throw out the background noise, I believe we still have probable cause to arrest all 30 of those white kids. And I'm going to tell you why, Art. Let's listen to the conversation, Art. Let's listen to the conversation. He calls the operator on CETO. The operator says, "How can I help you?" And I'm paraphrasing. He says, our boat is sinking and we need a tow. She says, "How much water are you in?" He says, "We're in 17 feet of water." No. We in 31 feet of water. Art, there's a big difference between 17 and 31. There's a big difference between 17 and 31. Why don't you know if you are in roughly 17 feet of water? And why don't you know if you are in roughly 31 feet of water? You are on the boat all the time. This is what they do, Art. They boat all the time. They go to Horn Island all the time. Why don't you know if you're in 17 foot of water or 31 foot of water? 31 foot of water. But Art, it gets better than this, Art. It gets better. The CETO operator, Art, says, "Do you want me to call the Coast Guard?" Do you want me to call the Coast Guard? Guess what he said? "We don't need the Coast Guard." Art, if your boat is sinking, do you care who comes to rescue you? If your boat is sinking, if I'm sinking in 31 feet of water, you can call the Coast Guard, you can call the aliens, you can call the Snow Bunny boat, you can call whoever you want to call if my boat is sinking. He told the operator, "We don't need the Coast Guard." Who does that, Art? Who says we don't need the Coast Guard if we sinking? So she says, okay. She says, "How many adults are on the boat?" Pay attention to this, Art. We caught him in another lie. Listen to this. She says, "How many adults are on the boat?" He said, quote, "There are no adults on the boat." He lied, Art. Second lie. First lie, he said, Nolan said, "I'm staying behind to hang out with Katie. Y'all can leave me." Katie said Nolan told her, "I'm headed back to the boat because my friend's about to leave." That was lie number one. That was lie number one. You lied and said Nolan said he was going to stay behind with Katie. That was a lie. Lie number two, the CETO operator asked you, "How many adults are on the boat?" He said there are no adults on the boat, Art. Why did he lie? Why did he lie? She said, "How many people on the boat?" He said, "Everybody on the boat is under 21. Art, she said, "That was not my question." Art, she begged him to tell her how many people are on the boat. She said, "That's not my question. How many people are on the boat?" She said, "Is anybody breathing on the boat?" He said, "A lot of people breathing on the boat." She said, "Is there anybody living on the boat?" He said, yes, people are alive on the boat. Art, I would like to investigate her. She didn't do no crime. I want to know what made that operator say, is anybody breathing on the boat? What made her say, is anybody alive on the boat, Art? What did she hear in the background? What did that
That's right. I want to know. I want to know what did she hear. I want to know what did they talk to the captain about after they switched him over. Because remember, he said, switch me over to the cage, and then I'll call the grandfather back after that. We need to get the grandfather. What made you think they ain't need the tow, that you canceled it? Before, as he was in the conversation about the tow, you canceled it. What made you think they ain't need the tow any longer? Right? That's the grandfather. And the lady on the boat, what made you ask him, is there everybody alive? Is everybody breathing on the boat? What made you ask him that? What did you hear? Right, that. Those are two people we need to get in there, man. You know? We're going to let Umar finish up with his commentary, and then we're going to get up out of here because I got to make a run. So, with no further delay, let's go ahead and get through this.
operator here in the background to make her ask him, is anybody breathing on the boat? That don't sound like a regular question. And then she said, is anybody living on the boat? It's almost like she could feel something was going on. I would love to know if those were standard questions, Art. I would love to know if those were standard questions or if she had a hunch that something fishy was going on. Now check this out, Art. She asked him a third or fourth time. He would not answer the question, Art. He would not answer the question. How many people are on the boat? Guess what he said, Art? Like 7. Like 7. Art, the boat only holds 8. They went out there that morning with 8. 7 Caucasians in Nolan. 7 Caucasians in Nolan. Art, they left with 7, right? When she said how many people on the boat, Art, why did he say like 7? Why didn't he say 7? It's only 7 people. Why couldn't he say 7? Why did he say like 7? You know why he said like 7, Art? Because he didn't know if Nolan was still alive or not. He didn't know if Nolan was still alive or not. So let me say like 7 in case he survives. Because Art, if you call me up and say, Dr. Umar, how many people at the basketball game? I can't count them all, Art. I'm going to say like 100. It's like 100. Because I don't know. It could be a little less than 100. It could be a little more than 100. I'm going to say it's like 100. But Art, if it's only 7 people on the boat, I don't need to say like 7. I could just say 7. He didn't want to give her a direct answer. Why didn't he want to give her a direct answer, Art?
And you on a sinking boat.
Because he know it should have been 8 people on that boat. He know it should have been 8 people on that boat. So he said like 7 because he didn't want to.
And Warren himself didn't give a precise number of how many people was on the boat with Nolan at the time, because he said Nolan came in on the boat with Wyatt and it was 8 or 9 people. He said it was 7, 8, and 8 or 9. He didn't even know. So that's the confusion right there once again. They never gave the Cito lady a direct answer, and Warren never gave the bootlicker a straight answer when he went on there and lied on his show.
Say 7 so nobody can ask him where the hell was Nolan. Nolan's life was taken between 3:30 and 4:30, and they know exactly how and who. They know exactly how and who, Art. And they took the phone and the keys to get rid of any evidence. They took the phone and the keys to get rid of any evidence. And if Sister Christine and Sister Tashima didn't go to that girl's house to get that phone, they would have discarded it, Art.
They got rid of that, and they would have got rid of that car. Because how homeboy, and what's this thing about the cars parked out front the house? We see the car in the parking lot. We go and the dude in the house don't know where the keys at, right? But he gets a phone call from a girl outside the house, and she knows exactly where the keys is at. Say what? Say what? The day before, on 3 days ago, on the 3rd, when Nolan had pulled up, is this where he left his car? Where did he leave his car? Did somebody drive his car back there? Because according to Warren, the day of the 4th, they left Nolan. Nolan wasn't with us. Is what he said, right? We got up in the morning, we went to breakfast, we went to my house, the boat was already tied up, we drove the boat to where we was gonna meet everybody. Wyatt put his 18-foot boat in the water, but Nolan wasn't with us. Where was Nolan at this time? Did Nolan drive his car to the deck? And then you guys drove it back to the house? You understand? These are all questions that need to be answered, man. And they need to be answered fast, man, because people getting real upset, bro. I'm going to keep it 100. We getting real upset, Mississippi. We getting upset, man.
We're going to discard the keys in the phone and act like they never even had them either. Now, I'm going to give you this one piece, Art, and I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to give you this one piece, Art, and I'm going to leave it alone. As I said, I'm very disappointed in the fact that Sheriff Ledbetter and District Attorney Morath are not investigating all 30 of those children. I'm disappointed that all 3 boats were not treated like a crime scene. Now, my primary theory, they unalived him on the boat, threw him over to make it look like a drowning. They unalived him on the boat or on land before they took off, threw him in the water to make it look like a drowning. But I'm going to say this to you, Art. I have another theory as well. I got 2 theories. That's my first theory. Let me give you my second theory, and we're done on this. There's a strong chance, Art, that after they unalived Nolan, they held on to the body overnight and dumped it the next day, Art. Or they took the body to one of the other islands around Horn Island and dumped the body. And let me tell you why I believe this, Art. Let's go back to Emmett Till. Let's go to Emmett Till, Art. Emmett Till was unalived on August 28th. They bob-wired Emmett Till to a 75-pound cotton gin, 1955. August 28th, 1955, Emmett Till was unalived, and they bob-wired him to a 75-pound cotton gin and threw him in the Tallahatchie River. The Tallahatchie River, Art, is a freshwater river. Horn Island is on the Gulf of Mexico. It's salt water. Salt water is rougher and more active and more buoyant than freshwater, Art. Follow me on this. Emmett Till got thrown in the Tallahatchie, bob-wired to a 75-pound cotton gin, Art, and his body made it up to the surface on August the 31st. Even though he was tied to a 75-pound cotton gin in a river, his body floated up to the surface in 3 days, Art. Emmett Till was 14. Nolan Wells is 18. If Nolan Wells was unalived and dumped immediately on July 4th, Art, we should have saw his body on July 5th. If Emmett Till's body can make it to the top in 3 days, tied to a cotton gin, Art, why did Nolan Wells' body only surface the morning of July 6th? I think there is a strong possibility they held onto his body, Art, because they were afraid that if they dumped it immediately, it would surface too soon. If they dumped Nolan's body too soon, it would have surfaced before they were ready. That body could have floated back, Art, before they
Even got to shore.
made it back home. They all go to jail. They could have held onto his body, Art, and dumped it on July 5th or dumped it the morning of July 6th. Because according to science, Art, Nolan's body should not have surfaced for 3 days. Or, according to what happened to Emmett Till, it should have surfaced within a day. The fact that it took Nolan Wells' body 41 hours before we saw it, I think that body might have gotten dumped, Art. I think they might have held onto Nolan Wells' body and dumped it a day or two later. And that's why the other 2 boats are important to the investigation, Art. How do we know Nolan wasn't unalived on one boat and held on his second boat? How do we know that? How do we know a second boat didn't take Nolan Wells' corpse to one of them other islands, and then the body floated back, Art. Why are we not investigating all 3 boats and all 30 white children? Art, I'm going to tell you like this. For that boy to not tell that CETO operator how many people was
on that boat, it's crazy.
on that boat, and she asked him.
He should have knew right away. You know what I mean? Because if we out here, we ain't trying to cover nothing up. And see how many people on the boat? Yo, it's 7 of us. It's 7. We want to be precise because we don't want the boat to go down, right? And then it's 8 of us, but she only know about 7 of us. So we're gonna be precise. You know, it's 7 of us on the boat, miss. Might even give everybody names just in case, right? So like he said, like Umar, like the brother Umar said, and we've been saying this. He held off to say it, right? We've been saying this since a couple of days after the incident happened. Because since the 6th, we've been really like on it. We really been on it. And like I said, man, I believe we know what happened here. And we just gonna see if Mississippi gonna do the right thing, man. You know?
Times, and the fact he lied and said there was no adults, and then he still didn't answer her question and said everybody under 21, and she had to repeatedly say that was not my question. Why are you unwilling to tell her it's only 7 people and not 8 people? Last thing I'm gonna say, Art. Shout out to Tyler Perry, Terrell Owens, Colin Kaepernick for helping to pay for the funerals, autopsy, as well as reward money for information leading to.
Well, Colin Kaepernick should feel ripped off because he didn't get his money's worth out of that, because he didn't get to do the full autopsy. He paid his money, and they didn't send everything they were supposed to send in order for Nolan Wells to get a proper autopsy. You understand? So with that being said, now that you know that your boy Dabrand knows, I'ma see